Welcome into the program. I'm your host, Joey Clark. (272-9228) if you want to get in on the conversation. But hold your horses, because I believe I'm having technical difficulties and all sorts of stuff over here, but let's not get too worked up over it, because you know what? Thank God it's another beautiful day. It truly is another beautiful day, and hopefully it'll be a beautiful show despite these technical difficulties. And yes, of course, folks, Montgomery needs a new mayor. I'm hoping this is Erica Thomas with 1819 News on the line.
Howdy, Joey.
Hello, Erica. How are you today?
It's me. I'm doing well. Glad that we have gotten some rain down here in South Alabama. It's been much needed. Been traveling the state this week, so I've gotten to see a lot of areas that I've actually never seen before, and just really thankful for everything that God has given me and my family and friends. How are you?
I'm actually pretty good personally, though I want to add to that list. Not only does Montgomery need a new mayor, we need a new governor. Like, she needs to retire, like, right now. Like, if she's not willing to do this job, I saw Jeff Porsche sharing the same idea. Like, this is a huge court case the Supreme Court just handed down. And she's given this, like, well, we can't, sugar, because, well, okay, maybe you're just talking about the injunction that the AG needs to move on. But I think it's just, why not pick this fight and go for it? It's just another disappointment.
Yeah, this is really a serious matter. And to have this Supreme Court decision come down, this is not only a really hopeful thing for the future, but also something that even the candidates in the races that would be most impacted are all for. They want us to move on this. It's time that we do this so that we have the constitutional representation that is needed in Washington.
Yeah, it would be nice to see us actually move, but, you know, we don't have a young, energetic governor like, say, Governor DeSantis, Florida, already moving on this. It looks like Louisiana is going to postpone some primaries and try to get something done on this. And who knows if Tennessee and a bunch of other folks jump in. You know, at least I would like to see Kay Ivey come out and explain it. Explain, not just a press statement. Come out and lucidly explain the logic here.
Exactly. We're not hearing any explanation. This is just what it is, and we have to just live with it. So I think it's interesting to see the surrounding states, how they're kind of reacting, because, you know, Mississippi had their March 10th primary. They've already had their primary, and they're already talking about nullifying that, possibly going back and just doing it all over. Who knows what they'll do there? I don't know the latest. But I think it's at least worth a discussion and to hear from our governor, hear from our leaders about what they want to do. Don't say you can't do something. I mean, that's the worst thing to hear our leaders say is we can't. Yes, you can.
Well, and then if the other excuse is, well, we're tearing down the State House, sugar, like, oh, right, you get in the old building, get in the old chamber, and get it done. Dadgummit. Like that, it's like, what is it with this place? Like, why are we always just last in line?
Yeah, we know the old chamber's available because they actually, you know, used it right before they shut down the State House to demolish it. So we know there's room. I mean, I'm sure we could just find a civic center to gather in. You know, I mean, you have a job to do. You get paid for this. This is a thing that we need to do. And really, our constitutional rights, our constitutional boundaries should be respected in this instance. We've been done wrong long enough. Let's straighten out our stuff, literally, and protect the people's rights.
Now, I want to shift gears here to Will Roberts, and I, wrote about him in context at the Theo Vaughn, and really, I do think just that young man's attitude, that 15-year-old's attitude, it reminds me of the light of John 9, that he has already made manifest the works of God, and just his attitude and how it's bringing people together. But there was, of course, in the midst of all the light, somebody created a fake GoFundMe account, but this has been settled and it looks like the money's been raised. He's on his way for treatment.
Yeah, this is one of those things that, you get so invested in the emotion of the story. This Will Roberts, only 15 years old, battling an extremely aggressive form of bone cancer, trying his best to go to Santa Monica, California to get this treatment that's showing promising results in aggressive cancers. He takes over his mom's Facebook page. He's just begging, like, President Trump, please help. Lo and behold, Dr. Oz calls. They get the ability to go to Santa Monica. They still have to raise $500,000. And some nimwit comes and makes a fake GoFundMe page. And I will tell you this, I see this all the time. In these high-profile GoFundMe cases, people will clone the page, make it look like it's for them, and it goes to a fake account. And I don't know if these are people from here that are doing it, or if they're, like those out-of-country scammers that we see all the time. I don't know who it is, but I would really like to punch them in the mouth, like really hard.
I agree with you.
It just makes me sick. So I finally said, with this high-profile case, I'm going to put this out there, because not only with the Will Roberts case, but any case that you're giving money on GoFundMe or any of these fundraising pages, just make sure that it's the legitimate page that you're giving to. GoFundMe is extremely active in looking out for these fake accounts, but there's so many of them. I mean, they can only do so much. They did remove this particular fake page, and I'm not even going to say the name of the person that was under, because it's probably not even a real name.
Right.
Probably somebody else's name. Just a fake page was under, and it really doesn't matter now because it's gone. GoFundMe, they responded quickly. They actually emailed me like the next day after I did this story and said, we've removed it. $0 were raised, thank goodness. But a lot of times people will give to these fake pages, and we have got to be able to pay attention to this. So if you want to make sure that the page you're going to is legitimate, go to the source.
Amen.
I will never link a fake GoFundMe. I triple check before I link any of the pages in my story, so you can rest assured if you're clicking on a link from 1819news.com story, that's going to be legit. Go to the source on Facebook. If the mom of Will Roberts has posted multiple times the GoFundMe page and also her own Venmo account. So there's ways to make sure, but just do your due diligence. Make sure you're giving to the right person, because even though you'll probably be refunded if you do give to one of these fake accounts, we don't want you to deal with that. We don't want you to go through that.
No, we don't. And we want it to go to the right folks, and we want, especially with something like this, the idea that somebody would try to defraud a story like this, but it was national. I'd suspect you're right that it was a perhaps somebody anywhere in the globe looking to piggyback on this, but he is going for treatment, and it's Will Roberts. I'm also thinking of the former senator Ben Sass, who is also going through experimental treatments, really talking about his return to faith. He's almost treated his cancer diagnosis as a grace, and it's just striking, I think, for all of us who are doing all right, who maybe have other fears or worries, and can I truly change myself? Just look at the folks that, the stuff is brought upon them that they didn't bring upon themselves, and how they respond to it. And it's like, well, if they can respond to something like that, maybe I can respond to things I brought on myself in a little more courageous manner.
Hey, man, you are on a roll today, Joey.
Well, I'm trying. I'm going to have to go confess sins if I keep talking about and thinking about Governor Ivey, though. Like, my goodness.
Yeah, I'll pray for you, bud.
Please do.
I'll pray for you.
Goodness. Just resign. Just retire. Go up to Lake Jordan. Retire. Go on the jet ski or something. I wish you well personally, but come on, let's get this done. Anyway, you were, I believe, at a debate yesterday evening.
I did. I made it in on two wheels in Daphne, at the Daphne Civic Center, to go to this Congressional District 1 debate. And one of the things that the candidates were asked about was that Supreme Court redistricting ruling. But But it was very good to see every single one of the candidates in one place. I've gone to a bunch of political events. I mean, it's always the same thing. Always, two or three of the candidates ask the same questions. What are your qualifications? What do you think about this? This one was awesome because every one of the candidates were there. They were all asked the same questions until the end. They were all asked separate questions, but they were timely questions. Like what's happening right now? What's your reaction to this Supreme Court ruling? I mean, listening to them have to answer to something like this that just happened, it's not some prepared thing that you hear over and over and over again. I mean, goodness, how many times have I heard the same candidate say, God told me to run for office? Like, okay, gotcha. God told you to. That's why you're doing it. Okay. You're not alone.
Yeah, you're just like Moses. You're just like Jacob. You're like, you're like the patriarchs, right?
I'm driven by the Lord. Okay. Yeah, me too. Everybody is. We're all Christians. Most of us are conservatives. Now, we got to see last night the one candidate that's calling himself a moderate, Jimmy Dees. He had different answers on just about everything. So that was interesting to see, his side of things and why he has this certain perspective on things. Very, very smart man. As all of the candidates they're just very knowledgeable. So it's good to see exactly how they answer this question on the redistricting. I mean, there were all kinds of answers, and so I detailed each one of those on 1819news.com. You can go right now to 1819news.com. It's like the second story on our website. Click on that if you want to see what their responses were on that. But you can also go down to the bottom of the story and watch the entire forum. And it was just over an hour long, so not too bad. But really interesting to see what these candidates are all about.
Yeah, and am I wrong to presume Jerry Carl right now is kind of the front runner? But then a lot of big names backed. What is his name? Rhett Marcus. There are so many folks in this race. I believe I've interviewed Austin Sidwell. I wanted to hop on. But yeah, is that right? That seems like it to me. If I had to come down to it, maybe a runoff is Jerry Carl, Rhett Marcus.
I mean, it seems to be pretty close between them. Jerry Carl definitely got the most claps last night. He had the most fans in the room, which doesn't say much because there weren't a whole lot of people there. And a lot of the people that were there with the campaigns, but that's kind of normal, as depressing as that is. Just the average everyday voter they're not participating much in these. Plus, last night in Daphne, there were some storms coming through, so that probably dissuaded some folks from coming. I mean, there were people there ahead of time before the actual forum. They had a candidate meet and greet. You saw a lot more candidates, a lot more people come through. But, in this kind of important race, you would really hope that the room would be full, and it just never is. So that's that. But Jerry Carl definitely had the most claps last night, most crowd reaction. Jimmy Dees was definitely the moderate candidate, the not extreme conservative type. Joshua McKee and Austin Sidwell, both American heroes. I believe James Richardson also is a military veteran. There's a few veterans out there. So I kind of, at the beginning, when I first met these candidates, I was like, well, what's going to distinguish you from Joshua McGee, Austin Sidwell, and Austin Sidwell is the only one that's graduated law school. So there's that. Joshua McGee has a plan. He's a man with a plan. He wants to go to Washington and take care of business. And you can tell just his military experience has prepared him. He's also got a lot of business experience. Rhett Marcus, we know his record. He's a state representative, very well known, has good name recognition. And then John Mills, he's the candidate that's going to relate with a lot of people. I feel that he's very relatable. So they all have their different ways about them, their different priorities, and the best way to find out what that is go to 1819news.com and watch that forum from last night.
Well, and you know what I would really love is for people to go to 1819news.com and watch that forum from last night, especially if you got folks down in that neck of the woods. Of course, I think Jeff Poor moderated it alongside another fellow, but it was Jeff's birthday. So what a way to spend a birthday. He didn't even tell me yesterday when he was on the show. Happy birthday late there, buddy. But you know what?
He's not huge on that, but he's huge on working 24/7. It's ridiculous. He's a
really
horse.
is.
But,
He really is. But I would really love is for those people on stage to have more months available to continue to campaign after the Alabama legislature is called into a special session and moves back the primary date. And so just give more opportunity for more debates like that and more people getting to know one another. I think it would be really great for the state, even if the courts might be an issue down the road. Governor Ivey, come on. Sorry.
hey, Joey, something on your mind today?
Yeah, just a little bit. Well, I always appreciate your time. And if folks want to check out your work or maybe give you a lead on a story, how can they do so?
Seriously, y'all, don't miss out. Head over to 1819news.com. We've only been around for about 4.5 years, but we're really growing. We're really learning even more and more. We want to give those stories that matter to people in Alabama. Not only the stories that matter, but the stories that you just want to hear. It's going to warm your heart every now and then. And then it's also going to enrich your brain and your soul. So please go to 1819news.com, subscribe to our newsletter. You'll get our top stories every day. It's absolutely free. And then when you fall in love with us and you want to support us, you can become a member and you gain access to exclusive content. Plus, you can just keep us going. But you can email me directly at erica.thomas@1819news.com or email all of us, news@1819news.com.
Well, I appreciate it as always, Erica, and God bless.
Thank you. God bless.
And Erica Thomas there with 1819 News. This part of the program brought to you by Montgomery Men's Health. And there at Montgomery Men's Health, they're ready to help you fellas out if you've got issues with like general energy issues, confidence issues. Like you don't feel like a man anymore, number one. You don't feel like the same man, at least, that you used to be in your 20s and 30s. You're lacking confidence at work. You're lacking confidence just being forthright when you're going out to have to meet new people. You're lacking confidence in the bedroom. And perhaps you got ED. Maybe it's PE. Maybe it's, obesity is a big cause of ED. Maybe you just need to lose some weight, get back into fighting shape. And of course, beyond just the bedroom stuff, losing weight is great for just general overall health. So perhaps the problem's low testosterone. They can help you with that there at Montgomery Men's Health. Or perhaps you actually aren't feeling like down in the dumps. What you are noticing as you're getting older, that you can't lose weight as well as you used to. Your metabolism isn't going as well as it used to. You can't eat like you used to and not get that visceral fat, that tire around the middle. Well, if you want to up your game, they now offer peptides there at Montgomery Men's Health. Things like NAD+, that is for mental focus and energy and just making the mind tick a bit better. But of course, if you're looking for help with the weight gain and want to help with some muscle growth, especially if you're looking to get those gains in the gym, brother, they have the Smorlin peptide, which is just fantastic. It works like a charm. So get by Montgomery Men's Health. A lot of guys, after they go there and get treatment, number one, it works. And they say to themselves, they say to us, why did I wait? I wish I had not. I wish I had shown up earlier to this. Yeah, get on it. Stop waiting, stop procrastinating. Feel like a man again, gentlemen. Get that confidence back, that energy back. Just feel like you again at Montgomery Men's Health. You can always make an appointment at 334-440-3663. That's 334-440-3663. Or you can always book online in under 30 seconds at MontgomeryMen'sHealth.com. That's Montgomery Men's Health for every man and every season of life. Well, I guess I got to hit a break here. More, well, after this.
You're listening to Joey Clark. Warm sound, clear sound, right here with Joey Clark. It's Joey Clark. Joey Clark.
He may not know whether he's coming or going, but whether you're going to work or coming home, Greg Budell is there. Mornings, 6 till 9, and afternoons, 3 till 6. Only on News Talk 93.1 FM, WACV.
For many homeowners, there's untapped reserves hiding in plain sight. It's not in the savings account. It's not in the stock market. It's right under your roof. Now more than ever, homeowners are sitting on record levels of home equity, and that equity belongs to you. It can be used to consolidate high-interest credit card debt, to pay expensive school tuition, to cover medical expenses, to invest in renovations, you name it, because that money is yours. This isn't about taking on unnecessary debt. It's about using an asset you already own to improve your financial position and your quality of life. The key is understanding your options and choosing the strategy that fits your goals. Let's see what's possible with the equity in your home. Give us a call at Alabama Home Mortgage today at 334-567-4223 or visit us online at myalabamahomemortgage.com. That's Alabama Home Mortgage, because there is a difference in mortgage companies. NMLS 1586368, Equal Housing Lender.
Don't miss the River Region Healthy Living Expo happening Thursday, May 14th from 10 to 2 at the Shops at East Chase. From senior health to total wellness, it's all here and admission is free. Learn more in the Check It Out section at WAKA.com.
2026 marks 60 years that hope has had a home in Alabama. At the Alabama Sheriff's Youth Ranches, children who've lost everything through no fault of their own have found something priceless. A safe place to live, a loving Christian family, and the chance to simply be kids again. Here, boys and girls grow up surrounded by care, guidance, and faith, learning right from wrong, learning responsibility, learning they are valued and that their lives have purpose. As the Alabama Sheriffs have believed for 6 decades, it's easier to build boys and girls than to repair men and women. These former ranchers are now teachers, parents, business owners, and leaders. Living proof that love, structure, and faith can change a life forever. As the Alabama Sheriff's Youth Ranches celebrate 60 years of serving Alabama's children, you could help ensure the next child has the same chance. Learn how you could make a difference at alabamasheriffsyouthranches.org. 60 years of building lives, and we're just getting started.
Clogged drain? Overflowing septic? Don't panic. Call the experts who've been solving plumbing problems in the river region for more than 50 years. The Tierce family's local Roto-Rooter team specializes in fast drain cleaning, septic repair, and installation. One call and your troubles are on their way down the drain. That's 272-7130 or visit rotorooteralabama.com. Roto-Rooter, always here when you need us.
Oh, Roto-Rooter, that's the name. And we go troubles down the drain. Roto-Rooter.
For too long, Alabama's statewide news companies have shamed us for our conservative Christian values. Alabama deserves a news company that cherishes our culture, a company that isn't bought and paid for by the powers that be. 1819 News is that company. Run by Alabamians for Alabamians, 1819 News celebrates what is good and beautiful about our state while exposing those who work against our values in secret. Just go to 1819news.com to learn more. Subscribe to our newsletter. That's 1819news.com.
With the Wall Street Business Report, I'm Rich Thomason. The U.S. economy accelerated at the start of the year, expanding at a modest 2% pace from January through March after recovering from last fall's 43-day federal government shutdown. A key inflation measure jumped in March as gas prices soared. The Commerce Department says an inflation gauge monitored by the Fed rose 0.7% in March from the month before. Uncertainty over the future course of the Iran war continues to roil world financial markets, and that includes energy markets and equities trading on Wall Street. The U.S. has continued its blockade of Iranian ports, while the Strait of Hormuz is closed, pushing oil prices higher in recent days. Reports today suggest that President Trump is considering more military strikes on Iranian targets as a way of convincing Tehran to give up its nuclear program. For the Wall Street Business Report, I'm Rich Thomason.
Rich Thomas Weather is brought to you by Alabama Wholesale Lumber. It's more than just great prices on lumber. From Trex decking to energy-efficient windows and Tamco shingles, Alabama Wholesale Lumber has it all.
There are more weather changes on the horizon that could affect some of your plans, so be flexible today through Saturday, really. Mostly cloudy today, a little cooler, high 77, with some spotty showers possible here and there today and tonight. Tonight's low 56. Scattered showers on Friday, but a cool day with a high only around 67. Then rain and thunderstorms become likely Friday night into Saturday. Maybe some locally heavy rainfall amounts. Saturday's high only about 66. And chilly jacket weather nights Saturday night and Sunday night with lows in the mid-40s. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
CB&S Bank, serving families and communities since 1906. Proud to be named 16th best performing bank nationally in their asset category by American Banker. Learn more at cbsbank.com. CB&S Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
News happens, you'll hear about it first. The River Region's most trusted voice. News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
Welcome back. I'm your host, Joey Clark. 272-9228 if you want to get in on the program. That's 334-272-9228. And of course, the fallout from the redistricting, we heard yesterday from Governor Ivey that we're just not in a position right now in the state of Alabama to go forward with the actual redistricting. Despite this ruling by the Supreme Court being a huge vindication against that terribly decided case by that federal judge around here. It's a huge vindication for Alabama and for the Attorney General. But no, we'll just wait and wait and wait and wait. But of course, there's the other side of the coin. This is from the mayor that shouldn't be mayor, Stephen Reed. Today's Supreme Court decision is a frustrating setback, but it is far from the end of our story. Here in Montgomery and communities across this nation, we know what it means to have our voices challenged. We have seen these moments before, and every time we have risen with determination and an unshakable belief in our right to be heard. Let me be clear. Our democracy is only as strong as its commitment to ensuring every voice counts. When that is threatened, we do not retreat. We organize, mobilize, and lead. To those feeling discouraged today, do not mistake this decision for defeat. Progress has never come easily, and it never comes without action. Montgomery helped ignite a movement that changed America once before. This moment calls on us to carry that legacy forward. We will not be silenced, and together we will keep moving forward. No, you probably won't. Montgomery helped ignite a movement that changed America once before. Yeah, it did. Once before. Once before. What makes you think this generation leading now could ever do something similar? How long are we going to continue to talk about the spark ignited once before and continue to use that as an excuse for so many local failures, as well as an excuse to push essentially a socialist progressive ideology and form of governance that is going to continue to leave people in exile, lost in the wilderness, thinking a political solution is the solution to strong communities, strong families, and strong individual lives, when it is not. Every voice must count in democracy, right? Because the voices that have money behind them don't count more. The voices that have, microphones, TV networks, huge social media followings. We all count the same in democracy. If blue states are allowed to gerrymander, red states should be allowed to gerrymander. It's that simple. But seriously, what do you think? Moses only comes once, guys. Well, actually, Jesus became the new Moses. But unless you're waiting on the second coming of Jesus Christ himself, Moses only really comes around once in a while. And most of the prophets that follow him are here to rebuke you and say, repent. That you're lost. You have been freed. Now what are you going to do about it? Or are you going to continue to worship at the idols of political power? At the idols of this progressive philosophy that is Christ without a cross? Of course, Governor Kay Ivey just can't bring herself to even go in front of the cameras and explain it. Explain yourself, Governor. Now, Barack Obama, his statement out yesterday, today's Supreme Court decision effectively guts a key pillar of the Voting Rights Act. How was a key pillar set up in like the mid-'80s after a compromise in the United States Senate? It's a lot of parts of Section 2 that are going to still be in place and probably be in place until will kingdom come. But today's Supreme Court decision effectively guts a key pillar of the Voting Rights Act, freeing state legislatures to gerrymander legislative districts to systematically dilute and weaken the voting power of racial minorities, so long as they do it under the guise of partisanship rather than the explicit quote-unquote racial bias. And it serves as just one more example of how a majority of the current court seems intent on abandoning its vital role in ensuring equal participation in our democracy and protecting the rights of minority groups against majority overreach. The good news is that such setbacks can be overcome, but that will only happen if citizens across the country who cherish our democratic ideals continue to mobilize and vote in record numbers, not just in the upcoming midterms or in high-profile races, but in every election, and every level. Well, what's that line? They're going to allow them to systematically dilute and weaken the voting power of racial minorities so long as they do it under the guise of partisanship rather than explicit racial bias. Well, weren't y'all advancing partisanship under the guise of racial equity? Which really meant discrimination in a different direction? Which really meant a group collective right, group entitlement? That flies in the face of protecting the individual's voice in the democracy? Does it not reduce people to racial voting blocks, vote banks, so to speak? But this is to be expected. And again, if you want to dress up your political power plays in moral language, you ain't like your grandfathers. I'm sorry, President Obama. I'm sorry, Mayor Reed. Y'all don't have the same moral authority as the folks who came before you. In many ways, that ship has sailed. And as much as you appeal to high ideals, democratic ideals, every voice being heard, no, what you're mad about is that you don't control the court anymore. What you're mad about is you now no longer get a special privilege in law that advantaged Democrats and held back Republicans. The sins of their forefathers. But of course, this means the Republicans here in this state will actually have to move and redistrict these maps to the advantage of Republicans. And in fact, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis just got on that pretty quick. The Florida legislature got on that pretty quick. Already passed it yesterday. Already sent to DeSantis' desk. And Ron DeSantis, well, he decided the other day to just mock Hakeem Jeffries because I believe Hakeem Jeffries, who is the, I guess, leader of the Democrats in the House, decided to say, you know, what's the line a lot of folks are using these days? F around and find out. Won't you F around and find out? Mm-hmm. Well, here is DeSantis' response to that. And I mean, the best response isn't this snarky little clip here. It's using power that you won in democratic elections to advance your interest of the people who elected you. To advance the interest of majority. Should the judiciary be a check against majorities when they violate individual rights? Yeah. They should definitely do that. If somebody's violating the right to worship, the right of conscience, the right of freedom of speech, in fact, if majorities are trying to take away the right to defend oneself with the means necessary to defend oneself under the Second Amendment, there are all sorts of other natural rights that are explicitly laid out in the Bill of Rights as well as suggested as the underpinning of any just society is found in the Ninth Amendment. That your natural rights are as numerous as the stars, as the sand. But that's not what we're talking about here. We're not talking about individual rights, natural rights granted by God. We're talking about who gets to run the show after we do a thing called a democratic election where it's one man, one vote. And guess what? The parties that win are allowed to draw the maps. And the parties that win tend to draw the maps to their advantage. And this is probably the way it's going to be. Now, maybe we'll all come together and have some great kumbaya moment. Perhaps we will. Who knows? Crazier things have happened. Maybe after this era of Trump, we're going to have this 180 to a more humble and cooperative conversation as a nation. Yeah, sure. But when it's not about individual natural rights, and it is essentially just about the game of politics, of who wins elections, who has the majorities in the House and the Senate, who has the White House, who gets to appoint Supreme Court justices, who is elected to state legislatures, who is elected to governor's mansions, are not those people, when they are duly elected, freely and fairly elected, allowed to advance their interest? Seems like that's democracy. But the progressives for the longest time have been ingenious. Well, their forefathers, their grandfathers and great-grandfathers were ingenious of dressing up naked political power plays, well, in the noble toga of high ideals. And maybe the high ideals actually meant something at a certain point. Maybe the toga actually fit. Over the years, it's looking a little raggedy. And the excuse after excuse after excuse for why things just ain't working out, people are starting to question the initial, claims. But here's Ron DeSantis. Again, Hakeem Jeffries said, if you do this whole redistricting thing, F around and find out. Here's what Ron DeSantis had to say in response.
we gonna do maximum warfare against Republicans. Florida Republicans, you F around, you gonna find out all this stuff. And, you know, what I said was, listen, and he's like, oh, if you do the redistricting, we're gonna take out all your members, we're gonna do all this stuff. And what I said was, go ahead, make my day. You don't think we're gonna, you wanna come down here and spend money and in Florida, roll the dice and take your chances, but don't think that you can come down here, issue threats to us, and somehow you're going to make us flinch. That is not happening, and in fact, it did not happen, because as soon as he came out and started doing that last week, Florida legislature turned around and they passed a new map.
Yeah. Is Alabama even going to try? Well, we're building a new state house, and we don't have a space to, put all these bubbas. Well, I got a feeling some of the hayseeds feel right at home, and a little more casual. Let's pick a breakfast spot and make decisions there. That'd be great. Get some bacon and eggs. Have a committee hearing over coffee, bacon, and eggs. Some pancakes. That'd be great. I would show up more often if that's the way the Alabama legislature worked. Real casual. Real casual. Let's get it done. And if the governor doesn't want to get it done, if she's the holdup here, she should retire. Because I have a feeling Lieutenant Governor Ainsworth would like to get that done. He'd be happy to. And if it's a problem with certain people in leadership in the Alabama legislature, well, maybe we need new people in leadership in the Alabama legislature as well. Or perhaps Governor Ivey, if the injunction's lifted, she'll call a special. I would say that's wonderful. And thank you. And I'm sorry for being so rude on the radio. If they actually get this done, beautiful. Your terms are acceptable. But we know our state all too well. So as Florida's moving, as Louisiana's moving, heck, I think even Governor Tate Reeves, which is the best name in politics. I'm not talking even about his policies. Governor Tate. Governor Tate's going to get things done. They might even call a special, just primaries for the congressional races so they can redraw the map. Because this is the way the political game is played. And one thing I've noticed is, especially when one side is losing, that's when they lean into the idealistic language the most. Believe me, I've been a libertarian most of my life. We're very good at appealing to high ideals while having no power whatsoever and pissing people off at the same time. We're quite good at it. Maybe the Alabama Democrats will have to get used to that even more. Anyway, we'll be right back.
Want to carry News Talk in your pocket? Download the News Talk 93.1 app from the App Store. Available on iPhone and Android. Never miss a moment. Download now.
Welcome to Eclectic Coins, Montgomery's largest coin dealer, specializing in buying and selling investment-grade gold and silver coins. And they have a large selection of rare coins and coins from around the world. Visit them at 543 Northeastern Boulevard or on the web at eclecticcoins.com. Eclectic Coins, where collectors who know go. It's Prattville City Fest, presented by Prattville Baptist Hospital, May 1st through 2nd in historic downtown Prattville. Live entertainment, arts and crafts, food, and Pepsi products by signature sponsor Pepsi. Prattville City Fest, presented by Prattville Baptist Hospital, May 1st through 2nd in historic downtown Prattville. It's free.
The premier place the River Region turns to for news, weather, traffic, and opinion. News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back. I believe I'm flying solo the whole day, so if you want to get in on the conversation, 272-9228. That's 334-272-9228. Now, another Alabama story I want to touch on real quick. And you got to wonder, will the current people running for Attorney General, I'm not saying they won't, but will they take this gentleman's advice? Alan Mendenhall has another piece out today. And he says there's a particular discomfort, humid and inescapable as an Alabama summer, that visits when two friends decide to run against each other for the same political office. You find yourself at a dinner party, smiling at one friend, then the other, careful as a man crossing a minefield in patent leather shoes. It's happening to me right now, says Alan Mendenhall, as Catherine Robertson and Jay Mitchell, two people I count as genuine friends, square off for the Republican nomination for Alabama Attorney General. I confess I'm watching them both with more than social interest, because there's a question that Alabama voters deserve to have answered before a single primary ballot is cast. And it concerns the Southern Poverty Law Center, the SPLC, or as Trump calls it, Southern Law. I recently wrote about the SPLC, says Alan Mendenhall, in its federal indictment of 11 counts of wire fraud, false statements to a federally insured bank, and conspiracy to commit concealment money laundering. The government alleged that between 2014 and 2023, the SPLC secretly funneled more than $3 million in donated funds to individuals associated with violent extremist groups, including the Ku Klux Klan, Aryan Nations, and the National Socialist Party of America. Whatever one makes of the federal prosecution, the underlying facts raise questions belonging squarely in the lap of Alabama's next Attorney General, writes Alan Mendenhall. All Alabama voters should insist upon knowing what Robertson and Mitchell intend to do about the SPLC under state law. He's correct. Let us consider the possibilities. First, theft by deception. Under Alabama Code, 13A82, a person commits theft of property when he or she knowingly obtains control over another's property by deception, defined under 13A81 as the knowing creation of false impression, including false impressions about purpose, intent, or use of funds. If the federal indictment's allegations hold that donors were misled about how their contributions would be spent, the same conduct could theoretically support a state deception theory. The aggravated versions, 13A821.2.1, applies when the deceptive taking exceeds 200 grand and carries a sentence of up to 5 to 30 years. $3 million allegedly passed through fictitious shell accounts is not an especially ambiguous sum. Second, charitable fraud. The provision tailored most precisely to the facts at hand. Alabama Code 13A971 through 13A975 create a comprehensive regulatory and criminal framework governing charitable solicitation in the state. Under one of these sections of law, any charitable organization soliciting contributions in Alabama must register with the Attorney General and make truthful disclosures about the use of donated funds. A professional fundraiser or solicitor who commits theft by charitable fraud in the first degree involving amounts exceeding $2,500 is guilty of a Class B felony. Any solicitor or person who knowingly violates the registration and disclosure requirements shall be guilty of charitable fraud, with a second or subsequent conviction rising to a Class C felony, and the Attorney General or District Attorney may bring an action to enjoin the violation. The SPLC has been headquartered in Montgomery for decades, writes Alan Mendenhall, and has raised vast sums from Alabama donors. If its representations to those donors were materially false, as the federal indictment asserts, the charitable fraud provision of Title 13A those provisions are precisely the instrument the legislature fashioned for such occasion. Third, unlawful charitable solicitation, and another article of law here in the great state of Alabama, which governs the use of containers and campaigns to solicit donations and requires complete transparency about where the money goes. Any person or organization that knowingly violates this article is guilty of unlawful charitable solicitation. If donors gave money believing it would fight white supremacy and instead it funded the salaries of white supremacist leaders, even under the theoretical cover of an informant program, the state may have a colorable claim under these provisions as well. Fourth, money laundering. One must note that, unlike the federal government, Alabama does not have a standalone money laundering statute of general application in its criminal code. However, there is one section of Alabama law which prohibits falsifying business records is directly on point with the indictment's most concrete allegations, which are, quoting the indictment, a person commits the crime of falsifying business records if with intent or to defraud, quoting the law here in Alabama, a person commits the crime of falsifying business records if with intent or to defraud, he makes or causes a false entry in the business records of an enterprise, or number 2, omits to make a true entry in violation of a legal duty to do so. The federal indictment alleges that SPLC employees opened bank accounts in the names of fictitious entities and made false or misleading certifications to the banks about the ownership of those accounts. That conduct is the very definition of falsifying business records under Alabama law. And while it carries only a Class B misdemeanor classification as written, it opens the door to further inquiry into whether companion provisions might elevate the exposure. 5th, criminal conspiracy. Yeah, the federal indictment describes coordinated actions by multiple SPLC employees over nearly a decade. Accounts opened, payments routed, records maintained, all in furtherance of the alleged scheme. That's not a portrait of a lone actor, but of an agreement, which is precisely what Alabama's conspiracy statute was written to address. Alan Mendenhall finishes with this. He says, I'm not a prosecutor, but I have spent an immoderate number of years watching the gears of Alabama politics run and turn. Thus, I've learned that the most important questions are often the ones nobody thinks to ask in public. What Robertson or Mitchell thinks about the SPLC and what either of them intends to do with the considerable powers of the Attorney General's office, those are not abstractions. They are the practical, consequential governing questions of this primary. The SPLC sits in Montgomery. The violations alleged, if true, occurred here. Alabama's laws are implicated. Silence from either Attorney General candidate on this subject should itself be considered a kind of answer. I agree 100% with what Alan Mendenhall's throwing down there. Y'all can read that for yourself. Share it at 1819news.com. This part of the program brought to you by Cole Plumbing. And there at Cole Plumbing, James Cole and the team are ready to help you out. It could be a big job, like a massive water leak inside or outside your home. And, they can solve that without creating an even bigger mess, like tearing out a bunch of drywall inside, trying to find the leak, or tearing up your yard, like digging a trench trying to find it. No, they can find the leak with precision and expertise and fix it up without making a big old muddy mess. And, of course, they can also help you with stuff that falls short of like a massive water leak or, say, like a gas line leak. They can also help you with, like, your toilet's broke, like the flapper doesn't work. Or it could be you have a tree root invasion, like, when you go to flush, something comes up in the shower drain. Or maybe you have a drain that's clogged or garbage disposal that needs to be replaced. Or you just want to upgrade to nicer things like a tankless water heater system or a taller toilet. It can help you across the board there at Cole Plumbing with any and all of those plumbing needs. So check them out today. You can always go to coleplumbing.com or just give them a call at 279-8919. That's 279-8919. And just remember, folks, when you have trouble with your bowl, call them Cole. We'll be right back after this.
Broadcasting from the Riverside Chevrolet Master Control Center, this is WACV Cusada, News Talk 93.1 FM. When it's Chevy, it's Riverside.
With SRN News, I'm Bob Agnew in Washington. Iran's national real currency dropped to a record low this week, even as a U.S. naval blockade continues and is increasing pressure on the country's already battered economy. Experts warn the real slide is likely to further fuel inflation in a country where many imported goods are hard to come by right now because of the ongoing blockade. The governor of Sinaloa and 9 other current and former Mexican officials have been charged with drug trafficking and weapons charges in a U.S. indictment. It was unsealed this week in New York. It accuses those leaders of aiding in the massive importation of illegal drugs into the United States. A Florida man convicted of beating and choking his 13-year-old stepniece to death nearly 50 years ago is set to be executed tonight in Florida. James Ernest Hitchcock, now 70, scheduled to receive a 3-drug injection starting at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. This would be Florida's 6th execution so far this year. This is SRN News.
I talked to a lot of great companies. Very few of them actually literally surprised me, but Fellowship Home Loans sure did. For over 20 years, Mike and Brian and the team there have been helping families do something most people think is more complicated than it has to be. Get into a home, lower their rate, or tap into equity they didn't even realize they had. Everything at Fellowship is done in-house. One roof, one great team, all with a servant-led mentality. From your first phone call to closing, You're going to get people who know you by name. They'll know your situation. They treat you like family. They're also offering a free mortgage checkup right now. Don't miss out. Rates are lower now than if you purchased or refinanced your home in the last few years. Many Fellowship customers are saving hundreds of dollars a month when refinancing, and there are no payments for 2 months. Go to fellowshiphomeloans.com/Mike G, fellowshiphomeloans.com/Mike G, or call 800-510-MIKE, 800-510-6453. Fellowship Home Loans, mortgage lending by the book.
Nationwide Mortgage Bankers, DBA Fellowship Home Loans, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS number 8193.
Rich Thomas Weather, a service of Riverside Chevrolet Wetumpka. If it's Chevy, it's Riverside. Best price, best selection. Check them out on the web at riversideusa.net.
Rich Thomas Weather.
There are more weather changes on the horizon that could affect some of your plans, so be flexible today through Saturday, really. Mostly cloudy today, a little cooler, high 77, with some spotty showers possible here and there today and tonight. Tonight's low 56. Scattered showers on Friday, but a cool day with a high only around 67. Then rain and thunderstorms become likely Friday night into Saturday. Maybe some locally heavy rainfall amounts. Saturday's high only about 66. And chilly jacket weather nights Saturday night and Sunday night with lows in the mid-40s. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
Budget Floors and More has the best prices. Carpet as low as 69 cents per square foot. LVP starting at $1.29 a square foot. Sheet vinyl as low as 65 cents per square foot. And the lowest prices on flooring installation supplies. Budget Floors and More across from Del Rey to Publix.
From the Blue Water Broadcasting News Center, here's today's top stories. Prattville High School's broadcast media class has qualified to compete at the Skills USA National Leadership and Skills Conference. The conference is the largest gathering of America's future media workforce and recognizes excellence in technical education. Prattville High School will compete for a national title in Atlanta later this summer. A new community center is coming to Montgomery County. The Montgomery County Commission has broken ground on the center located in District 1. That district includes the city of Montgomery's Woodley Park, Spring Valley, and Cross Creek neighborhoods. The facility will be the first of its kind for Montgomery County to build inside the city limits. The Montgomery Police Department is making history with its first ever all-female canine team. Kira, a narcotics detection dog, is now working alongside Corporal Nicole Holtz on traffic stops and search warrants. In addition to her narcotics work, Kira is the only Montgomery Police search and rescue dog. From the Blue Water Broadcasting News Center, I'm Sky Mosley.
This hour of news and views is brought to you by our good friends at Alabama Home Mortgage. Alabama Home Mortgage, 567-4223. Visit them on the web at myalabamahomemortgage.com. NMLS number 1586368. An equal housing lender.
It's time to show Mom how much you appreciate her with a Jenny Lynn's floral creation for Mother's Day. Skip the grocery store flowers and make one quick call, 285-1000. Roses, lilies, beautiful bouquets, and gift baskets designed just for Mom. Call Jenny Lynn's Creations, 285-1000. The views and opinions of the following program are solely those of the host and other contributors. These do not necessarily represent those of Liberty Acquisitions 825, Blue Water Broadcasting, its management, staff, or any advertisers. It's time for Montgomery's conversational radio show. It's news and views on News Talk 93.1 FM. To join the conversation, call 272-9228.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back. Little change of pace. I apologize for being cranky today, folks. It is a beautiful day. Thank God for another beautiful day. I'll try to cheer up here. But this will cheer me up, actually. Always great local cause. Something to reset priorities. And we have Jamie Brown with the food bank here in the area. Mm-hmm. Jamie, how are you today?
I am doing well. Thank you for asking.
And so there's a particular event coming up, and this is all about, fighting the fact that it's pretty expensive out there to put together affordable, nutritious meals.
It is. It's called our Budget Bites Battle, which is a mouthful. And this is where it's a fun cook-off event, and we're just encouraging businesses and groups, and we've had some individuals actually sign up to have a cook team, and the goal is to prepare a nutritious meal for a family of 4 for $20 or less.
Okay.
Yes. Now that's what they'll be judged on. Of course, they have to make enough for other people to kind of sample and stuff. But that's the reality a lot of our neighbors in need are facing is to be able to provide their family a nutritious meal because it can cost a lot of money.
Oh, it absolutely can. We were talking about that a little bit off air. I don't pinch pennies probably the way I should. And so let's though describe if folks, is there still time for people to get involved? And,
yes. Absolutely, yes. We targeted Saturday as a deadline, but I will, if folks want, reach out to me next week and say, hey, I'd really like to do it. Can I do it? I'm going to say, come on. The answer is yes. We'll have plenty of room. It will be held at the Heart of Alabama Food Bank. So it's an inside event.
That's good.
So that's a good thing. And we'll start pretty early. Teams can start setting up about 7:30 and we'll have judging. They can prep everything, judging from 9 to 10. And then we'll have it open for folks that join their team, maybe some of their coworkers or friends or family can come and taste test some of what the other teams have, and we will announce winners at 11 o'clock and be done by noon.
So it's like you put something together and you bring it and you set it up and okay, everybody's saying.
Well, that's a great question because we really want you to cook as much as you can on site.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Now we're saying if there's something that you have to cook ahead of time, because of limitations, because we can't have like burners in the warehouse, smokers and things like that for food safety. But so we'll be glad to work with folks on that. But yes, they'll be actually cooking and preparing that meal right there on site.
Now, if I had to do this, I would be thinking chicken.
Yeah.
Chicken's probably a good route for protein.
Yes.
But I don't know. Like I have like my mainstays, so this is great. This is a great creative way to get people thinking about, okay, you got to feed 4 folks.
Yeah.
How do you do it for $20?
Yeah. And, I went to the store a few weeks ago and I was like, well, and salmon is another good, good protein. I was like, well, I know I can get 4 salmon patties out of 1 can, but I also need to purchase eggs and crackers because I mix all of that up. And then one of my sides required milk. And so I bought some shelf-stable milk. And all of that adds up. And I forgot the oil because I forgot to get the oil. But all of that was just under $17. So it can be done and you can be a little creative. So staples, we're not worried about counting in that $20 because it's just a regular thing. So.
And again, folks, this is the Heart of Alabama Food Bank. They're hosting the Budget Bites Battle, and folks can sign up on the website, which is, I believe, hafb.org.
That's right. We have at the top right-hand corner, if you click on that, we have an events link, and you can register there. It's $100 per team, and if you want to enter 3 different categories, it's still $100 a team. So
very cool.
Yeah.
And again, folks, get in by Saturday. Now, if you last second, like on a Monday or Tuesday, you can get in touch with Jane.
Absolutely,
here, but let's get this in. We got it tomorrow, and the next day.
We got some time. Yeah.
Well, am I leaving anything out?
Well, I mean, you captured it pretty well. I mean, it's just, like I said, it really is a fun event, but the main thing we want to do is just bring awareness to food insecurity because in our service area, there are 269,000 people who are food insecure, and that's 1 in 4 kids and 1 in 6 adults. And so every day we're trying to do what we can to bridge the gap and be a safety net for those families that, are those who are walking down the street with us, whose kids are on the same soccer team. We just want to bring awareness and help our neighbors in need.
Beautiful. And I didn't realize there would be that many folks. And it's interesting. I think y'all were already organizing this and had this plan, but today, of all folks, the Pope came out and his intention for prayer this month is for food security.
Wow.
So whether you're a big organization or you're just one person, don't waste food and make sure you're getting it to folks. And how are we doing in general with the food bank here locally?
We're doing pretty good. And you made a good point about food waste because that's another thing we try to reduce as much as possible. Yeah. So we actually work with hog farmers for those perishable items that we're unable to send out because we're not going to send anything out from our warehouse that we would not eat ourselves.
Right.
And so we partner with hog farmers for things like that. But we have opportunities for people to get involved through volunteerism. I mean, we're packing boxes for seniors every single week. We just had a group from a local college, that was packing frozen boxes. That will go to our agencies because we actually serve 35 counties across the state. 12 directly from our warehouse.
Okay.
And so we have about 200 agency partners that we're working with to distribute all of that food within those communities that we serve.
How'd you get involved in this?
Well, God just had plans for me, and here I am. And it is really a mission from the heart. I mean, it truly is, it's kingdom work. I'll be honest.
Yeah,
It just really
absolutely.
is.
Amen.
And, we are such a blessed community, and we have incredible community partners that, whether they be individual donors or businesses that are lock in step with us because they believe in our mission of feeding hope and fighting hunger every single day. And it is an absolute joy and a privilege to do this work.
And I want to end on this because you mentioned fish, and fish is great.
Yeah.
Like I have been in a lot of, let's say, meditative prayer. And one of the things you can think about, especially in this Easter season, is the resurrection. And like, there's a lot of different ways, of course, to think about that. Like, the very moment the tomb is discovered empty, and like, where's it, the road to Emmaus, the conversation and the breaking of bread there. But I kind of landed on where it just gave me this warm feeling inside. And I think it really fits with y'all's mission. I think my favorite image of the resurrected Jesus is when he's on the shore cooking fish with unleavened bread and about to serve them breakfast. And there just seems like something, sometimes it can be hard to approach the light from light, the true God from true God. But then to like see, no, he's sitting there by the fire cooking for you. We're about to eat breakfast. And I think that's something, you're right. It is a calling.
It is. It absolutely is. And I feel very honored to be in this space.
Amen.
Yeah.
Well, folks, y'all get signed up again. Go to the Heart of Alabama Food Bank. I guess you go to Facebook, but go to the website, hafb.org. And of course, this will be next Saturday's the event.
That's correct. It is Mother's Day weekend, I know, but we'll get you in and out.
Okay. And can folks just kind of like just show up? They don't have to be participating?
Yeah. So we do have a limited number of individual tickets, and they can actually purchase those online as well.
Okay.
So that's $25. Like I said, a team is $100, and it all helps us to fight our mission. And every dollar that we raise allows us to provide 5 meals to our neighbors in need.
Well, amen. And thank you for doing this.
Well, thank you. Appreciate the opportunity.
We'll be right back, folks. I feel cheered up now.
He may not know whether he's coming or going, but whether you're going to work or coming home, Greg Budell is there. Mornings 6 till 9 and afternoons 3 till 6. Only on News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
Congressman Barry Moore has always delivered for Alabama. As a member of the House Freedom Caucus, Barry Moore earned a score of 100 from Heritage Action for protecting our values. He's helped thousands of Alabama families, fought for our veterans as a veteran himself, and secured millions for infrastructure, first responders, and public safety. Barry Moore helped pass Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill, delivering tax cuts for hardworking Alabama families, and stood strong to secure our borders. Now, Barry is taking that fight to the United States Senate. Barry Moore will defend our freedoms, defend the Second Amendment, protect our children, stand up for parents, and keep boys out of girls' sports while continuing to cut taxes and lower prices. Endorsed by President Trump, Barry Moore is a proven conservative Alabama can trust.
I'm Congressman Barry Moore. I rolled up my sleeves in Congress, and I'll keep fighting for Alabama in the U.S. Senate. I'm Barry Moore, a conservative fighter, and I approve this message.
Approved and paid for by Barry Moore for U.S. Senate.
Hi, this is Bo Goodson from the Goodson Group with your Real Estate Minute. Here in the River region, thousands of hardworking folks will be buying a home, some for the first time. How do you know you are buying the right home? It starts with research. A buyer's agent can help you in your search, providing a list of homes you may not be aware of or know about. At the same time, a meeting with a local lender to find out exactly what you qualify for and how much it will cost at closing and monthly. A list of needs and wants provided to your agent will help them locate properties that match those needs. An example would be bedrooms, baths, school zones, floor plan requests will also help. Start shopping and look at homes and compare and make a list of pluses and minuses for each home. Compare them with your agent to narrow the field. After you work out the contract, appraisals and inspections come next, and then the closing. For more details, call Bo Goodson at the Goodson Group, 221-2883. That's 221-2883.
What's your biggest investment? More than likely, it's your home. So treat it that way when you hire a painting contractor. At PBS Painting, there are no gimmicks, no $99 specials. just quality painting and someone who treats your home with the same respect that you do. At PBS Painting, we have been painting for years and look forward to many more years to come. With PBS Painting, the job gets prepped properly, whether it's cleaning, scraping, or priming. We always use quality products, which is a must for a quality paint job. So if you're looking for a painter that doesn't need upfront money and is on the job at all times, then please give me a call. Scott Bowers and PBS Painting, 294-5122. That's PBS Painting, 294-5122. Look at some of our work on Facebook at PBS Painting Montgomery.
Hi, this is Carl Schmidt, naturopath and owner of the Herb Shop. Listen every Saturday to Winning Wellness and learn from experts in different fields of science and technology how nutritional supplements can help you.
Listen to Winning Wellness every Saturday at 10 a.m.
This hour of news and views is brought to you by our good friends at Alabama Home Mortgage. Alabama Home Mortgage, 567-4223. Visit them on the web at myalabamahomemortgage.com. NMLS number 1586368, an equal housing lender.
Accurate, immediate, carrying your voice across the river region. News Talk 93.1 FM, WACV.
To Joey Clark. Joey Clark. It's Joey Clark.
Welcome back, folks. And let's do some mail time. Because somebody actually sent me some snail mail. Now, I haven't read this whole thing. I read the beginning of it. And I was like, I should share this with the audience. And this is old school snail mail sent here at 4101A Wall Street here in Montgomery, Alabama, addressed to me. And it's from Concerned Citizens of Montgomery. It was not a bit. Out at the front desk, they just handed this to me. I started reading it, and I'm like, I think I should share this. At least to fill time. To the people of Montgomery who care about our city's future. This statement is submitted on behalf of concerned Black citizens of Montgomery, Black is capitalized with a capital B, who are deeply invested in our city's future. We reflect a range of professional backgrounds and community experiences, and we write from a commitment to responsible governance, fiscal accountability, and public trust, not partisan politics. I like that. So far, I like this. We are writing to express serious concern regarding the proposal to construct a new arena, reportedly estimated at $200 to $300 million. At a time when city facilities require significant repairs, equipment and vehicle fleets are aging, and essential services are under strain, including a shortage of police officers, assuming a long-term financial obligation of this magnitude warrants heightened scrutiny. They go on to say, transparency must be the standard for any project of this scale. The selection of consultants, contractors, and professional service providers should be fully documented and publicly explained, including the procurement method used, scope of work, compensation, timelines, deliverables, performance requirements, and the mechanisms for oversight. Residents deserve a clear record of how decisions are made and how public funds are safeguarded. If public funds have already been expended on preliminary planning, consulting, or feasibility work, the city should promptly publish the related contracts, invoices, and deliverables so taxpayers can evaluate what has been produced to date. Any additional spending should be tied to clearly defined milestones, documented deliverables, and independent review. Accordingly, we urge city leadership and the city council to pause any commitment to an arena until the public has been provided with 1, full documentation of procurement and contracting decisions, 2, an independently vetted financing plan, 3, realistic revenue projections with a clear downside risk analysis, and 4, enforceable oversight measures with regular public reporting. Montgomery can and should pursue economic development, but not at the expense of essential services, public safety, and sound financial management. Now they have additional concerns. So far, I like this. And this is not a bit. I literally just got this in snail mail. Handed to me by the lovely Kelly at the front desk. And she is lovely. but they have more concerns. Before undertaking major new debt, the city should present a transparent accounting of deferred maintenance needs, capital replacement schedules, and the current condition of key assets, facilities, equipment, and vehicle fleets. Residents need to understand what will be delayed or potentially compromised if substantial resources are redirected to an arena project. We also ask that the city clearly identify any outside firms involved in planning, financing, development, or project management and explain how they were selected. If firms from outside the region are being considered, the city should describe how accountability will be enforced, how costs will be controlled, and what protections exist to prevent overruns. Competitive procurement and clearly defined deliverables are critical. Public safety staffing and service delivery must remain the city's first obligation. Any financing structure that reduces budget flexibility may limit the city's ability to recruit, retain, and equip police officers and other first responders or to sustain the basic services residents depend on. Finally, recent experience with large public projects underscores the importance of strict controls, independent auditing, and routine public reporting. The city should commit, before any vote, to a clear governance framework that includes independent financial oversight, publicly available progress and budget reports, and defined remedies if cost or performance deviate from approved plans. Bottom line, we are in trouble, and this is why we are making the last-ditch effort to inform all the law-abiding citizens, black and white. Here's why. All 4 of our highly esteemed black council members are basically sheep for the mayor. Some might refer to them as unqualified black sheep. We all know the sheep are going to vote with the mayor. A few of the other council white folks are partnering with the mayor. We fully expect Andrew Szymanski to vote with the mayor. He spends a lot of time meeting and talking with Frank Robinson and the mayor. He was also a big buddy of Jeremy Reed, who was one of the masterminds for building an arena. As I previously stated, we have eyes everywhere. Well, also, Andrew's talked about that publicly, and especially if there's going to be a bond issuance, it's not just about the arena, but I don't think you need eyes everywhere to get that. But anyway, we have already seen his character by taking grants from the city for his business while on the city council. He also got grants from the city while his competition in the coffee shop business was turned down for ARPA funds. So going after Szymanski, his buddy Frank Robinson plays a big role in determining who gets the money. Mr. Jenright, you need to resign immediately and let the public remember you for the good things you have done over your career on the city council. Mr. Jenright, we know you are making lots of money under the table at the Coliseum. The mayor is also aware of this fact, so we know why you vote the way you do. A huge question everyone should be asking. Why are we using a company from Chicago to develop the arena? We understand retired General Trent Edwards brought them to the table. General Edwards, please stick to what you know. Also, the market feasibility study was done by Frank Robinson's old company from Philly. Certainly no chance of a huge conflict there, ha ha. All of a sudden, this very official form letter got a little more informal at the end. Bottom line, this arena is not about building a venue. It's about how much money certain people can line their pockets with during construction. Remember, the rumor on the street is that $22 million went missing from the water park. This arena project will be 2 or 3 times larger. They will be rich, and our city will be broke. Again, that is from Concerned Citizens of Montgomery, saying the statement is submitted on behalf of concerned black, with a capital B, citizens of Montgomery who are deeply invested in our city's future. Well, I appreciate you sending me the mail. I'm sure leadership will get right on it in responding. 272-9228. That's 334-272-9228. Is Kay Ivey going to call a special session to redistrict at least the congressional maps? Like, are we actually going to move on this anytime soon? And if the holdup's the injunction, I know the AG's already moving on as fast as possible. So why not go ahead expecting a good outcome with the AG trying to get that injunction lifted and get something done, Governor? Might be nice. Now, the GOP chairman Scott Stadhagen, like that guy. He's optimistic this redistricting ruling from the Supreme Court will help Alabama, saying in a statement after this came down that we applaud the U.S. Supreme Court for its decision today in Louisiana v. Calais. The court correctly recognized that the focus of the Voting Rights Act is stopping intentional racial discrimination, not limiting states' ability to draw maps for partisan political gain. We look forward to the courts applying the Calais decision to the ongoing litigation over the Alabama congressional district maps, and we call for the courts to do so swiftly. In the meantime, we have faith that the map reflecting the will of the citizens of Alabama, that is the map enacted by the people's representatives in the Alabama legislature, will ultimately triumph over the travesty of a map foisted on the state by the three-judge panel in the advance of the 2024 election. The statement went on to reiterate the party's commitment to fair, lawful redistricting that reflects communities, saying that party officials will continue to monitor developments closely. If I had to bet, I don't know if we're going to get on that real quick. Anyway, let's go to line one. You're on there. Who's this?
Simpler Days.
Hey, Simpler Days. How you doing?
Pretty good. Joey, just think if they would have used a quarter of that, maybe half of that on the Redwater Park, that those guidelines.
Oh yeah, it'd be nice. That would have been nice.
Or even spending this amount of money, like other cities do, let the taxpayers vote on it and say, is this what we want to spend the money on? This amount of money. But they never do, and they continue on like it's their checkbook. And I was listening to a podcast the other night, and our former mayor was on there, the strange mayor.
Oh, Todd, yeah.
Yeah, and it was enlightening. I always wondered how the Redwater Park went down, and he explained it. He said that he was sitting in his office one day, and this lady by the name of Ellen McNair and her daughter came to his office and said, we have this wonderful plan about a water park for Montgomery.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if the average Joe and his friend came to the mayor's office and said, we've got this wonderful plan, I'm sure they would have been, met with open arms. But because they're not in the I'm Somebody club, I'm a friend of a friend, he listened to them, and he even agreed to spend $75,000 to explore the idea. And they looked at the one in North Carolina, and then I don't know whether he hired him or whether he used him as a consultant, but the financial guy at AUM, what's his name? You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, Darabi.
Yeah, Darabi, there you go. He said that they consulted with him after they spent the $75,000 to explore the opportunity, because this woman and her daughter showed up in his office, that he said it probably wasn't a good idea. So,
wait, even Darabi said it's probably not a good idea?
Yeah.
That's pretty great.
So he said at that time he backed away from it, and evidently they showed up over at the county. And now the former mayor, is saying, well, they just, it's in financial problems, and now it's got this algae stuff, and it's probably going to be $100,000, $175,000. We don't know how much it's going to cost, shut down to get the algae out of it. But what the county ought to do is just make it part of a line item on their budget and just be done with it. Well, if it was such a great idea, strange mayor, why didn't you do it? And if it was such a great idea, don't you think the private sector would have explored the opportunity? But I just wondered how all that went down. And now we know that lady's head of, she got appointed by the governor to what state agency? I think it's commerce, maybe.
Oh, economic development.
Economic development. There you go. And that was one of our strange mayors. That was one of his babies that he was with before he became on board, with the mayor and all that. It's just strange to me how you get in that I'm somebody club and if you've got enough clout to walk into the mayor's office and he'll kick out $75,000 to explore the possibility.
I think I'm in the camp of it doesn't bother me too much when people make money, even if it's friends making money, but it needs to work and actually be good for the community. Unfortunately, when it's friends and, when you know somebody, heard it from a friend who heard it from, it's the REO Speedwagon standard, you usually don't get things that work. And that's where we are on this and that potential arena. I thought a lot of parts of that letter I just read was spot on. Though, again, the idea that people are going to make deals and some folks are going to make money is kind of like, well, that's just the system, man. Like, unless we do nothing, which, maybe is not the worst idea. Maybe we could do nothing.
Yeah. No, you can't do anything about the mafia in D.C. I mean, it's always been there. It'll always be there. You got to live with it, Joe. Have a good day.
Appreciate it. Simpler day. 272-9228. That's 334-272-9228. This part of the program brought to you by Pest Pro Services. And they're at Pest Pro, Ashley and that great team. Great local business. Great success story coming out of the pandemic. Growing leaps and bounds in these last several years. And at Pest Pro, they're ready to help you out. Get on their monthly subscription program, and they can take care of all those basic pest control needs. And, of course, you can add on top of that things like termite inspection and protection year-round, mosquito protection if you want to get rid of those. They're just nasty creatures. Let's just admit it. Nasty creatures. You want to actually enjoy your property without getting eaten up by those nasty mosquitoes? Well, Pest Pro Services can help you there. Or maybe a little critter sneaks in, tries to make a home out of your home, like a squirrel or something, or God forbid a raccoon or something's in your crawl space and you're not sure what. Pest Pro Services, again, can help you out there. So if you want to learn more, you can always go to ppsriverregion.com or just search Pest Pro Services on the Book of Faces or give them a call direct at 265-9990. That's 265-9990. When you want to know, call a pro. Pest Pro Services. And be sure to tell Ashley and that great team that Joey that fell on the radio sent you.
Want to carry News Talk in your pocket? Download the News Talk 93.1 app from the App Store. Available on iPhone and Android. Never miss a moment. Download now.
Are you tired of the mainstream media's biased reporting? Do you want to stay informed on the news that really matters to you? Look no further than 1819 News. At 1819 News, we bring you the latest in Alabama news, politics, sports, culture, and more. We've assembled a team of journalists with Alabama values dedicated to the truth and the truth alone. Visit us at 1819news.com today. That's 1819news.com. Subscribe to our newsletter. Honest News, Alabama Values.
Yes?
Yeah, I'm Bill. You called about some breakers tripping?
Oh, yes, Bill. My brother-in-law says you can do almost anything.
That's me. Not much I hadn't seen.
Do you really want someone who does almost anything in your electric box? Think about that. Because each year, thousands of home fires are caused by faulty wiring. That's why you want a professional, like the electricians at Crosby Electric.
Bill, how's it going? Bill, ooh, are you okay?
Oh, yeah, well, I didn't really need my eyebrows anyway.
At Crosby Electric, all technicians undergo rigorous safety training, as well as background checks, drug testing, and continuing education.
Bill, you think maybe I should call a real electrician?
No, these little slip-ups happen. Everybody does it.
Really?
No, not really. When you need professional electric work, or you just like someone to assess your home for safety, call the experts at Crosby Electric, 272-2085, or visit us at crosbyelectric.com.
This is your roving reporter. Today I'm talking with a man from outer space.
What's up, Earthling?
I see you've landed your spacecraft over there in that field.
That's right, man.
My question is, why have you landed here on our planet?
I came to see David Ernest.
The asset preservationist?
Yeah, man. I wanted to see if he would take a look at my portfolio for me.
Well, before you make the trip over there, call him on his toll-free number, 833-596-7233.
And I understand those last 4 digits spell out the word safe.
That is correct.
Funny thing happened the last time I came to Earth.
What was that?
I went to the Walmart, man.
Yes?
And I accidentally went in the back door.
How did that work out?
Well, they stopped me and very gently told me that I needed to go around front and come in.
And then what did you do?
I said, cool, man. Take me to your greeter.
You flew millions of miles just for that.
Hey, man, I don't ride them. I just read them.
This hour of news and views is brought to you by our good friends at Alabama Home Mortgage. Alabama Home Mortgage, 567-4223. Visit them on the web at myalabamahomemortgage.com. NMLS number 1586368, an equal housing lender.
Weather, a service of H&H Carpets, where right now, get a load of this, listen close, you get a house full of carpet for $19.95 installed. Unbelievable. They're located at 6450 Atlanta Highway, just across from Walmart.
There are more weather changes on the horizon that could affect some of your plans, so be flexible today through Saturday, really. Mostly cloudy today, a little cooler, high 77, with some spotty showers possible here and there today and tonight. Tonight's low 56. Scattered showers on Friday, but a cool day with a high only around 67. Then rain and thunderstorms become likely Friday night into Saturday. Maybe some locally heavy rainfall amounts. Saturday's high only about 66. And chilly jacket weather nights Saturday night and Sunday night with lows in the mid-40s. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
Feeling the pressure of high credit card rates? ASC Credit Union has you covered with a low 1.99% APR on balance transfers. Move your balances in March or April and lock in that 1.99% rate through your October statement. Visit ASC Credit Union today. Federally insured by NCUA. Terms and conditions apply.
All the headlines the mainstream media won't touch. Your News Talk station. News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back. Now, how's the national economy doing? Well, GDP numbers came in and they were off. They come in below expectations as the core inflation rate hit 3.2%. Accelerated a seasonally adjusted 0.3% for the month, pushing it to 3.2% for the 12-month inflation rate. They're on core. But gross domestic product grew at about 2%, seasonally adjusted annualized pace in the first quarter, up from 0.5% in the fourth quarter of 2025, but lower than the expected 2.2%. Initial jobless claims totaled a seasonally adjusted 189,000 for the week ending April 25th, and that's a one good sign, the lowest number of initial jobless claims since 1969. So, of course, people will always sell these numbers and spin these numbers, and, well, that's just the nature of this. So here is the White House's guy who's meant to sell the economic news and the economic policy. Not Scott Bessent, but the the director of the National Economic Council, Kevin Hassett. He was on one of these fancy financial networks, and he's got the spin.
Well, first of all, let's talk about the economic data for a second, because it was just kind of a whole bunch of blockbuster numbers. The 2% number, actually, for me, being capital spending guy, I used to be the capital spending guy at the Fed when I was a young economist. That the thing that was amazing, as you know, and you highlighted, the capital spending boom, and one of the things that sort of dragged it down from a really high number was that the quality of the imports has skyrocketed, and so almost half of the imports were capital goods, which were coming in to build factories in the U.S. Typically in the past, our imports are things like consumer goods that are perishable. And so the bottom line is that it's really strong data. We got initial claims the lowest they've been since the 1960s. We got government employment the lowest it's been since the Second World War. We've got all these positive movements in terms of fiscal responsibility and economic growth moving forward. And so then, but we do have this temporary disruption with energy markets, which is very serious. As you mentioned, the energy prices are high, gasoline prices are high. But, my read of the academic literature on what you do when you have an oil shock like this is not that you raise rates into it, especially given how I think we're highly confident that this is going to be a temporary disruption. Futures markets agree with that as well. And so I think it would be a policy error for, this ECB or the Fed to hike rates into a temporary spike in energy prices. And their own, economic studies sort of suggest this is true, because if you look at it, what they want to do is make sure that future inflation goes back towards the target. The best forecast of future inflation is not top-line inflation, but core inflation. And core inflation in the last CPI number was fine. The PCs kind of crept up a little bit, but it doesn't tell the story of the top line. And the top line is the kind of thing that I think someone could overreact to.
So, he's putting on the best face possible. And it very well could be next quarter you end up with a true booming number. But the problem is, where's the boom? Where is the economic boom? If we're getting all this high quality imports, mostly capital goods that are investing and building things, that initial jobless claims number is very good. But this war has consequences. Before we jump to Pete Hegseth defending that war in front of Congress, the one with Iran with the genius, the blockade is genius. Yeah. Actually, I prefer the blockade to completely destroying a civilization overnight. Before we get to that war, though, here is a little more economic stuff going on. Came out yesterday that the current chairman of the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell, who is not going to be chairman of the Federal Reserve for much longer, he has decided not to retire. And he's going to take a governor's chair within the Federal Reserve, the larger committee, and essentially denying Trump the ability to appoint another new governor for one of the Federal Reserves. And it's, sometimes Trump style backfires. Now, the prosecution of Powell or the investigation into him has been withdrawn. But here's the Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, the other man who's meant to sell the economic plan of the Trump administration, and he's going to react to that news that Jerome Powell is not going to hang it up. He's going to stick around to deny Trump a new appointed.
Secretary, we look forward to the Kevin Warsh era at the Fed. I know you've been a big supporter. Unfortunately today, ungentlemanly, Jay Powell has decided to stay on as a governor. It's only the second time in 113 years. I don't know why. Let's just say, why did he have to do it? Why not just leave it up to Kevin Warsh for a new era?
Larry, I want to come back to the Warsh Fed, but I will say it's highly unusual what former chair, soon-to-be former chair Powell did. And Larry, to be clear, the last time that a Fed chair stayed on the board, it was at the request of the president. Yeah. And one thing I can promise you is President Trump did not request for Jay Powell to stay. I think it's highly unusual for someone who says he's an institutionalist and cares about norms at the Fed. This is a violation of all Federal Reserve norms. And I've got to tell you, also, Larry, I think it is an insult to Kevin Warsh, Mickey Bowman, and Chris Waller to think that these other Republican nominees do not care about the institution of the Fed and that he alone can maintain the integrity of the Fed. We've had the worst inflation perhaps in our country's history, certainly in 47 or 50 years under this chairman. And I think the good news is today Kevin Warsh cleared committee. He's going to be confirmed. He will be the new Fed chair on time, May 15th, May 16th, and I think it's going to be a new day at the Fed. And again, all President Trump wanted was accountability. We're going to get an IG report on the building. That's all he ever asked for.
Yes, sir.
And I think that we will have a great monetary policy. I think we will have great management in terms of the regulatory and of the facilities.
We'll leave it there. Thank
Scott Bassett there. And, well, something's got to spark up and ignite here. Because there's been a lot of like, hold, wait for it. We got to do this little incursion and we're on hold. We'll get there. It's going to be big. It's going to boom. I'm not saying he's wrong. But you kind of need it. Now, given everybody's attention span, maybe you don't need it till the middle of the summer when we're celebrating the 250th birthday of the nation. But this war in particular, ooh, that smarts at the gas pump. That smarts something fierce. Also, has Kay Ivey explained why she's not going to call a special session yet? Is it just the injunction? Well, why do you got to wait for the courts? Can't you at least get the ball rolling? At least express, I want to do this? Like show a willingness to do this? Yeah, you could even play that game saying, I'm going to do it. We're going to push through. Even if the courts knock us down, then so be it. But why not a willingness? Because I thought this Supreme Court ruling on Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act was a huge vindication of the state of Alabama in this last go-around with the maps. Huge vindication. But I mean, at least an explanation, like go out on like video and explain it, look into the camera, or sit down with Todd Stacey on Capitol Journal, explain it. Why aren't we doing anything? The building's not being, the old highway building we've been using as a state house is being torn down. What's the reason? That we're all used to be Democrats? What's the reason? I'm just going to drink for the rest of the term. What is the reason? That was a low blow, but it's probably true. By the way, thinking of the 250th anniversary, I've got a new book that was just delivered to the house by a guest that's been on the program before. I'm looking forward to cracking this thing open. I've been reading a lot of religious books, but including Scripture itself, but this will be a nice change of pace. But former guest of the program, brilliant historian, probably my favorite historian, read a lot of his books, Arthur Herman. And he has come out with a new book called Founders Fire, from 1776 to the age of Trump. He's, of course, a Pulitzer Prize finalist in history. This book explores how visionary founders from Washington to Musk, Elon Musk, have shaped America through innovation and disruption of the status quo. And I love Arthur's books because they're weighty in the sense of the research is there, the ideas are there, the thought is there, but then is it expressed in a way, it's packaged in a way that's very, very accessible. And honestly, that's a credit to how well Arthur Herman understands so many of these ideas. Like when you can take complex dynamics, especially in history, and boil it down into a beautifully told story, an eloquent story that anybody can sit down and understand. Well, it shows how good that guy is. And so I'll have to, after I read it, reach out to Arthur. I'd like to read it first before I interview him once again. But if y'all want to check it out, as I'm checking it out, again, it's called Founders Fire from 1776 to the Age of Trump by Arthur Herman. And it is trending there in the history section on Amazon. So definitely going to check that out. And, I'll keep going with the religious text for sure. Not stopping anytime soon. I think Augustine's Confessions is maybe up next, and several others. I'd like to St. John of the Cross I'd like to read after reading Teresa of Avila. Therese of Lisieux would be nice to read as well. And, of course, working through the book of Exodus in a detailed, studied way. But definitely got to bring in more of the American founding as we get close to this celebration of this nation. We'll have to bring in more and more of the good old historical, stories and tales of what made us the United States of America. This part of the program brought to you by Alabama Home Mortgage. And there at Alabama Home Mortgage, Kim Williams and Madeline Cannon are ready to help you, whether you're looking to buy a place, looking to purchase a home, or if you're looking to refinance your current home. And especially if you're a veteran, they know the latest with the VA home loan programs, the VA mortgage. It is the best game in town. If you are a veteran, I don't understand why you're not taking advantage of it if you are not taking advantage of it. Like, what are you doing? You're leaving money on the table. It is the best deal, the best game in town. And so whether you're looking to refinance, you can get 100% cash out refinances or no down payment purchases through the VA mortgage. And even if you're not a veteran, if you want great local folks that can get you in the right position to buy, which always starts with pre-approval, or looking to refinance in order to get debt off your back or shore up that retirement fund or invest, go on a big vacation, it's your money, your equity built up in your home. Let Kim and Madeline there again at Alabama Home Mortgage will guide you through that process. And of course, it's not just in Alabama that they can help you. They're also licensed in Georgia, Florida, and Tennessee. So check them out today. You can always call them direct at 567-4223. That's 567-4223. Or you can apply online at myalabamahomemortgage.com. There is a difference in mortgage companies. Let Kim and Madeline prove that to you today. NMLS number 1586368. An equal housing lender.
He may not know whether he's coming or going, but whether you're going to work or coming home, Greg Budell is there. Mornings 6 till 9 and afternoons 3 till 6. Only on News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
We get this question all the time.
Do you handle that?
Buying or selling a home?
Yes.
Commercial?
Yes.
Land or investments?
Absolutely. Hannah and Eddie Realty Group. One team.
Every real estate move. 334-322-0662.
Don't miss the River Region Healthy Living Expo happening Thursday, May 14th from 10 to 2 at the Shops at East Chase. From senior health to total wellness, it's all here and admission is free. Learn more in the Check It Out section at WAKA.com.
This hour of news and views is brought to you by our good friends at Alabama Home Mortgage. Alabama Home Mortgage, 567-4223. Visit them on the web at myalabamahomemortgage.com. NMLS number 1586368, an equal housing lender.
We get Montgomery talking 24 hours a day. The River Region's most trusted voice. News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back. Let's now go, because we're limited on time here. Pete Hegseth, who for some reason, like, I'm almost thinking of like a classic 80s movie, like maybe it's a high school sort of drama and you're like the nerdy kid or you're just the kid who's not that popular and you go to meet the girl at the ski slopes and all decked out in pastels, like with the latest and greatest like fashion brands, is Pete Hegseth. I like Pete, but he's got this vibe of being like the perfect like 80s rom-com villain. That said, Hegseth defended himself yesterday in front of the House, has been defending himself all day in front of the United States Senate today. But here is one moment in particular where Hegseth took on a particular congressman that's been bad-mouthing this decision to go to war with Iran since day one.
I didn't get a chance. I didn't see a question in the statement from the congressman. I hope you appreciate how reckless it is. When I said reckless, feckless, and defeatist of congressional Democrats at the beginning, that came after watching you say the same thing on CNN this morning, a quagmire. My generation served in a quagmire in Iraq and Afghanistan, years and years of nebulous missions and utopian nation building that led us to nothing. Mm-hmm. What we have right now, the way you stain the troops when you tell them 2 months in, Congressman, you should know better. Shame on you. Calling this a quagmire 2 months in. The effort, what they've undertaken, what they've succeeded, the success on the battlefield that could create strategic opportunities, the courage of a president to confront a nuclear Iran, and you call it a quagmire, handing propaganda to our enemies, shame on you for that statement. And statements like that are reckless to our troops. Don't say I support the troops on one hand, and then a 2-month mission is a quagmire. That's a false equivalation. Who are you cheering for here? Who are you pulling for? Our troops are doing incredible work. They've done incredible things for the entirety of this mission and achieved incredible battlefield successes. And you sit there and go on TV for your clickbait about quagmires. It undermines the mission. Your hatred for President Trump blinds you to the truth of the success of this mission and the historic stakes that the president is addressing, which the American people support. Iran's been at war with us for 47 years. You want to talk about a forever war? For 2 months, this president has stared them down. He's going to get a better deal than anyone ever has and ensure that Iran never has a nuclear weapon. I know the American people support that mission, despite your loose talk and words like quagmire.
Pretty good, actually. I mean, still, I get the vibes that he's like the great jock villain in 80s rom-com, but it was pretty good. Well done, Secretary of War. Now, we'll see. 2 months in, I think, is a little silly to call it a quagmire. I agree with them. But right now, gas prices are pretty high. Energy prices are pretty high. We got the midterms coming up. Even with these redistricting cases going on and like the change in Florida. Or, by the way, are we going to do that in Alabama? Is Governor Ivey going to push for that here in Alabama? Or are we just going to go, well, we can't. We're just not in the position to do so at the moment. Could we get a little more explanation? Anyway, this part of the program brought to you by Dylan Rings. The point being, the Republicans need to coalesce this together, or it's too late, especially winding up this war. But we'll see if the Iranians cry uncle. But again, this part of the program brought to you by Dylan Rings. And at Dylan Rings, I really want to remind you of how great they are. Josh, the jeweler in particular, at his custom design work. It could be something you've just dreamt up. In fact, I'm working on a piece with him right now, going through the process. I'm excited. Josh, if you're listening, I'm excited. I'm looking forward to stopping by there again, see what the next steps are now, and look forward to revealing that to the audience. I don't know if everybody will love it, but I love it. I love what Josh is being put together, is getting put together so far. Really great stuff. And impressive to watch him work, from the basic idea to seeing the artistic sketches to the CAD drawings and dimensions, what sort of materials we're going to use, what's, dialing in the exact look of what we're going for. And from working with Josh, it's a breeze, folks. And if you're looking for something truly unique, if you're looking for a customized piece of jewelry, Josh Ryder can take care of you. I know it firsthand. That man can take care of you. And of course, they're at Dylan Rings. They have great services across the board, from repairs to spa treatments, and an incredible inventory from high-end to everyday jewelry items that you're going to love. So check them out today. Just get by 119 Brown Springs Road here in Montgomery, just off of Atlanta Highway. And be sure to tell Josh and Leslie that Joey, that fella on the radio, sent you. I'll tell you a little more about him coming up later in the program. We'll be right back after this.
Broadcasting from the Riverside Chevrolet Master Control Center, this is WACV Cusana, News Talk 93.1 FM. When it's Chevy, it's Riverside.
With SRN News, I'm Bob Agnew in Washington. A key inflation measure jumped in March as gas prices soared. An inflation gauge monitored by the Fed rose 0.7% in March compared to February, up sharply from the previous month. The Commerce Department said that compared with a year ago, prices were up by 3.5%. A Florida man convicted of beating and choking his 13-year-old stepniece to death nearly 50 years ago is set to be executed tonight. James Ernest Hitchcock, now 70, scheduled to receive a 3-drug injection starting at 6 p.m. This would be Florida's 6th execution so far this year, following a record of 19 executions back in 2025. Hitchcock had appealed his sentence several times and been resentenced to death several times. On Wall Street, the Dow Jones Industrial Average right now up by 783 points, the NASDAQ up 241, and the S&P 500 is up 64. This is SRN News.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now.
800-583-0141.
Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-583-0141. That's 800-583-0141. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
Rich Thomas Weather brought to you by M&M Outdoors. Book your stay today at MNMCampground.com for relaxation at its best. It's easy to find and hard to leave. M&M Outdoors, your home away from home.
There are more weather changes on the horizon that could affect some of your plans, so be flexible today through Saturday, really. Mostly cloudy today, a little cooler, high 77, with some spotty showers possible here and there today and tonight. Tonight's low 56. Scattered showers on Friday, but a cool day with a high only around 67. Then rain and thunderstorms become likely Friday night into Saturday. Maybe some locally heavy rainfall amounts. Saturday's high only about 66. And chilly jacket weather nights Saturday night and Sunday night with lows in the mid-40s. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
When the heat hits to the river region, don't wait. If your AC quits, Hands Heating and Air offers same-day service, or your diagnostic charge is free with their Comfort a Day or You Don't Pay guarantee, plus 24/7 service with no overtime charges.
1819 News.
Governor Ivey has issued a statement regarding the recent decision from the U.S. Supreme Court that will affect the congressional district map here in Alabama. The Supreme Court ruled that Louisiana cannot create race-based congressional districts, that it's unconstitutional. Alabama was forced by a 3-judge panel to create its own race-based congressional districts back in 2024, which led to Democrat Shamari Figures being elected to Congressional District 2. The judge's orders were in response to a lawsuit filed against the state that challenged what state lawmakers had drawn up by way of a new map in 2023. Several state leaders have now called for a special session to be held in order to implement changes to that congressional map after this recent ruling. Governor Ivey said she does applaud the Supreme Court's decision, but the state is currently under a court order to not create new congressional districts until after the 2030 census. Governor Ivey says Alabama is not in a position to call for a special session. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Governor Will Ainsworth says that Alabama should redraw their congressional map in such a way that all 7 congressional seats are held by Republicans and therefore truly reflect the political and cultural stance of most Alabama voters. I'll be back with more Alabama stories after this.
Covenant Rescue Group seeks to directly support organizations and agencies that are fighting the global battle against human trafficking. They do this through funding, procuring, and advocating. You can go to covenantrescue.org for further details. They need your donations, guys. Hop on and donate.
The U.S. Pentagon has granted $49 million to Auburn University for research in aviation and missile modernization. The grant is one of many being given by the U.S. Pentagon to universities across the nation in order to provide research and support to the Combat Capabilities Development Command Aviation and Missile Command, which is located at Redstone Arsenal. I'm Andrea Tice.
For more news affecting Alabamians, go to 1819news.com. And while you're there, subscribe to the daily newsletter.
This hour of News and Views is brought to you by our good friends at Cole Plumbing, 279-8919. Cole Plumbing is #1 in the #2 business. You don't have to dig a hole. They have proprietary pipelining technology. Ask them about their tankless water heaters. Remember, when you have trouble with your bowl, call on Cole.
Do you suffer every time you try to wear good-looking shoes, but you don't want to wear ugly shoes just because they're comfortable? The Good Feet store wants to help you wear heels, boots, and dress shoes again in comfort.
We're located at 7341 East Chase Parkway in the shops at East Chase. Now hiring.
The views and opinions of the following program are solely those of the host and other contributors. These do not necessarily represent those of Liberty Acquisitions 825, Blue Water Broadcasting, its management, staff, or any advertisers. It's time for Montgomery's conversational radio show. It's News and Views on News Talk 93.1 FM. To join the conversation, call 272-9228.
This is how you conduct yourself in a democracy?
I don't mean to be telling tales out of school, but there's a fella in there who'll pay you $10 if you sing into his can. I'm not here to make a record, you dumb cracker. They broadcast me out on the radio.
Welcome back. So Terry Sewell, maybe if Alabama gets its act together, will not be a congresswoman anymore. She's now calling for California and Illinois to take away the few Republican seats they have in response. California has 7 members of Congress who are Republican. Illinois, it's 3 GOP members. And what's the quote here from Terry Sewell? After the ruling, she told Politico she wanted those two to redraw their maps to eliminate all Republican representation. And said, I take 52 seats for California and 17 seats from Illinois because at the end of the day, they're rigging this election to try to win. And we can't just sit back here and do nothing. We're going to play their game and we're going to beat them at it. What do you mean? What's this their game? And also, I'm not making the point of Democrats started it, but this is one of those issues. Everybody does it. All of you do it. All of you. You take responsibility for nothing. It's always, well, the other guy's the center of it. You all do it. It's politics. Yeah, I guess, drives me nuts. Anyway, Tuberville saying, future governor saying Alabama should take action to ensure maps accurately reflect states' values and politics following this redistricting decision by the Supreme Court. You just heard in the news report at the top of the hour, Lieutenant Governor Will Ainsworth is all for that as well. Attorney General Marshall saying he's going to ensure that our congressional maps reflect the will of the people. He's pressing to immediately getting redistricting done following this decision by the Supreme Court. And you have the main leader for lieutenant governor, I think he probably is leader, with the Trump endorsement, John Walz, saying Alabama must be ready to move immediately. And instead, Ivey's like, well, I like the ruling, but we're just not in that position. Wretched. Anyway, let's go to Papa B. Hey, Papa B, how you doing?
Hey, bud. Yeah, Kay Ivey. Meemaw. Good gracious.
No way, Jose.
She's proven who she really is, bud.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, she's a Republican or she's a Democrat in Republican clothing here. That's what she is. Always has been. And, you know, I guess she and Jerome Powell have some things in common. You know, just want to be the fly in the ointment. Just want to put the thumb in the eye. You know, just that kind of person.
Well, it could never be big and bold. She's a tortoise. If you're listening, y'all heard me right, Governor Ivey's office. The governor is a tortoise. Slow. I'm a hot stepper. No, not anymore.
No. On your way out the door, just spoil everything just as much as you can until the last possible moment. You and Jerome Powell, meemaw, y'all have a lot in common. And Jerome Powell, by the way, I think he's kind of following the pattern I've seen in a lot of political leaders whereby, you know, they really just cannot let themselves get out of totally out of power. I think, you know, as a form of maybe some protection, I guess, like, you know, if I leave or if I stay, maybe that will get me, you know, a little bit of protection from things that I might be prosecuted for. You know, I mean,
maybe.
The list is vast, but Nancy Pelosi is certainly one. You know, she just won't leave. Why? Well, they're just grabbing onto that little power string as long as she can. Why? Because I think she feels like it's a protection.
Well, she actually made a deal with some gentleman who visited her in a dream, and after she signed the contract of blood, essentially what's going to happen as soon as she retires, she will melt.
One can hope. One can all but hope. Oh, man. What a mess. Yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, even if they do all of this, if Kay Ivey wants to dig in her she doesn't wear high heels, pumps. She wants to dig in her, well, not even that.
Well, no, there's
shoes.
more flats in her case.
Yeah, her orthopedic shoes, and she won't sign it. What are you going to do? Okay. So at least for the next 2 years, we probably get this problem. I don't know. Maybe she will relent. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I would love to see her get a little more pep in her step, to see that tortoise actually move on down the road. And it's just this opening salvo, this opening statement, compared to the current attorney general, compared to Tuberville coming in, compared to Will Ainsworth, compared to John Wall. Yeah, and beyond the state. It's just like,
exactly. I mean, when it all went down, everybody was looking at it, and I was too. It was like, oh, so, of course, we can't make decisions based on race, but the court can. They know how to make decisions based on race. So they have that ability.
Well, and essentially, it's got to go through a formal process, which the AG will lead and lead quickly. But this decision by the Supreme Court was a rebuke of that injunction, a rebuke of what the courts forced on Alabama.
It was a thumping, bud. There's no other way to put it. I mean, they thumped them. But one of the things I was calling about is this push here. When we're talking about redistricting and everything. I've heard some talk about making Washington D.C. square again, and I think that is a really great thing. Fairfax County, all of that up through there. It used to be all of Washington D.C. Washington D.C. was in a square. So somehow or other, they gave it back to Virginia. I'm thinking that I recall some of that happening. Maybe it was even before my time. But if they would just re-annex Fairfax County back into Washington D.C., which it really is, that would restore Virginia's, back to a state of sanity.
It'd be nice.
Just that move, and I think looking at that kind of in earnest, things like that, need to be done. So they can't happen fast enough is my whole point. This has been going on for far too long, and it has not done anything good. In spite of all kinds of overtures and trying to get along and trying to make peace and, trying to, make alliances, nothing has worked. And so this concept in my mind that a black person can only be represented by another black person is such a lie. And it has turned, in my mind, the black population inward. They're focused inward. They're not focused outward. It's like, okay, well, you don't have to get along with anybody. Well, I wouldn't have any problem with a black person representing me.
Right.
What's the point here? So as long as they were representing me, does a black person have to be like a wild-eyed, liberal to actually be a black representative? Do they have to be that way? No. In fact, I'm trying to think of the guy's name down in Florida. He's a black representative.
Byron Donalds.
Perfect example. It doesn't have to be this way, And by the way, there's an awful lot of white folks in this country, believe it or not. You can't just ignore everybody and go your own way. You got to try to get along sometime or other.
Sure.
How's that not making sense?
I don't know. You are making sense. I think there's a lot of very conscious, dumb, even fraudulent behavior that's been done over the years, from white and black politicians. That's just politics. But I think there is a unique, almost tragic story that nobody chose. I'm being real serious here. Like, I think there was very good reason like let's say many moons ago, many generations ago, that if you are black, you need to be in solidarity with other black folks in order to protect your interest and gain certain freedoms. And then we've been doing the reenactment of that solidarity now for 60 years.
Yeah.
And the reenactment is not, it's starting to look weirder and weirder and weirder compared to what the past was. And then not just, I'm not literally talking about the reenactment of the Selma to Montgomery March. The language of civil rights was co-opted by white Northeastern elite liberals and West Coast liberals to do sex changes for children.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, this is like the language of civil rights has been so bastardized. And it's a shame. And I think there are a lot of folks who are still caught in that pattern. And maybe this change will actually wake up a lot of folks. And I think there are actually ways for somebody who's a Democrat, who isn't just a full-on Republican, to actually be successful in the state of Alabama. I think there are avenues for that, but the current approach is just not working.
See, I mean, that's what I feel like. It's like, I think this country has moved on. They've moved on from this. They're, like, okay, we've experienced all of that. Now it's time to move along into what our future is and not keep on, trying to regather history and carry it along with us. I don't think the country's there at all.
Well, and there's always a room for like
I think the political class wants to keep it going because that is their power base. That's how they got in power.
And what I was eager to say is like, there is always room and should be room for keeping legacy in mind, and legacy done through lived acts of charity through the years. And that's how you truly pass things on. But when that legacy is twisted and turned for whatever political moment, that's when you start, seeing the rotten fruit of it. And I don't know, there's a lot of people who are butthurt over this, but you heard my rant. It's like, if they're going to play this game, it's like, or no, the Democrats started the gerrymander game. I'm like, no, it's just the system, guys.
Like they didn't do that in 1978 when all this started, I think it was 1978, all the, gerrymandering with districts on the race and stuff like that. And, you saw that coming. I saw it coming a mile away, of course. So,
Well, and also, real quick, gerrymander originates from 1812.
Right. Yes.
Well, the British were remodeling the White House. 1812. It's just part of the system we have, guys.
Well, anyway. All right, guys. Thanks a lot.
Appreciate you. 272-9228. That's 334-272-9228. This part of the program brought to you by Bo Goodson and the Goodson Group. And there at the Goodson Group, Bo and his team are ready to help you with buying or selling property here in the River Region real estate market. Bo's been helping out buyers and sellers in Montgomery and surrounding areas buy that home, buy that land for about half a century now. And at the Goodson Group, not only can they help you with buying and selling property, but they have great management services available should you want to rent out your home. Great idea in this market. But why not, for a reasonable fee, have the Goodson Group actually manage that rental investment for you? If you've never managed property before, I have no idea what you're doing, yes, go with the Goodson Group instead, and they can really help you out, make it a performing asset for you. Yeah, maybe you don't want to sell that place and you got to move, and why not have the Goodson Group, again, manage that property for you? You can always learn more at thegoodsongroup.com or give them a call at 551-0225. That's 551-0225. Bo Goodson and the Goodson Group, great sponsor of the program. I'm just a little worked up today because I'd like to see, I don't know. I've had this gripe for years now. I don't have anything personal against Kay Ivey. I'm sure she's lovely. But it's not just about Kay Ivey either. That's for so long, especially in Alabama. Maybe this is just the effect of we don't want to go through another George Wallace again or whatever, for all sorts of reasons. The cliche ones as well as other reasons. But it seems like what's been rewarded in politics, but especially Alabama politics, are managers. And some of the managers, whether leading the legislature or leading the governor's mansion, some of those managers, some have been more competent than others. Some have been just downright corrupt or just flaccid and ineffective. But every once in a while, especially a young man, might like to see somebody who's a vigorous visionary that isn't just managing the same old problems, the same old little miserable problems we've had for decades, for generations. And I know every manager dresses up their management and their tweaking of the system in flowery, visionary language. They all do that. They learned that a while ago. They're all poet philosophers. But I'd like an actual poet philosopher, if that makes any sense. I'd like, and you don't even have to like poetry. Hopefully, Coach, I know he's not a fan of poetry. He hated it when they started reading poetry on aircraft carriers. So I'm not even saying you got to do the poetry thing. What I'm saying is I want a vigorous executive that's willing to take chances, get things done, and actually make an impact that lasts a long, long time. Are there always small things the managers, including Governor Ivey, get done that are good? Yes. For instance, the expansion of school choice. Good. I would have liked to see it a little more expanded, a little quicker, a little more robust. But the fact that we got what we got, cool. And see, this is how the managers operate. They give you a little bit of something. We're not going to go too fast, so low and slow. Tortoise approach. The Numeracy Act's great. Literacy Act's great. Though, again, how long did it take to actually implement that good idea? I think if we had actually implemented that when they first passed it, we'd be in an even better position in terms of education in the state. And you can go down the list of like good things. But sometimes it's like, yeah, that's a good thing, that's a good thing, that's a good thing. But why are we always so slow and behind the curve? What is this game that's being managed here? Occasionally you'd like a visionary. And hopefully we'll get one. Again, I'm not saying Coach is some philosopher poet. I don't think he is. But I think he is somebody who is willing to shake things up in the state of Alabama. So I look forward to that. And I would hope he has partners ready to do that sort of work, whether in the Lieutenant Governor's office, the Attorney General's office, Secretary of State's office, or the legislature. And of course, I'm not leading out the auditor and the Treasury Secretary and all that, and the Ag Commissioner and all that. I love you guys too. Y'all know what I mean. And I suspect there are some people in the legislature who have been there a long time who would like to see a little more vigorous action and visionary action. They just needed a leader to do it. So we'll see. But especially when this starts to overlap with the national game, that is politics, it's frustrating, it's embarrassing. And it's like, in a state that's voted 65% for Donald John Trump, we still have essentially former Dixiecrats running the place. I guess I got to tip my hat to y'all. Y'all have been good at managing what you've been managing. Some to the benefit of the people, but I suspect more to the benefit of yourselves. Anyway, got to hit this break. We'll be right back after this.
Want to carry News Talk in your pocket? Download the News Talk 93.1 app from the App Store. Available on iPhone and Android. Never miss a moment. Download now.
When you're hiring, have you ever felt like you're missing out on meeting truly great candidates for your roles? It seems impossible to find them, but they have to be out there somewhere, right? Well, they're not hard to find when you know where to go, and that place is ZipRecruiter. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day. And because these people are actively looking for jobs just like yours, it's easy to find the right person right away. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. But if you're not using ZipRecruiter, you're missing out. So see what it's like when the impossible is easy. When you go to ZipRecruiter.com/radio right now to try ZipRecruiter for free. Once again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. Never miss out on great candidates with ZipRecruiter.
Hi, I'm Carl Schmidt, naturopath and owner of the Herb Shop Wellness Center at 8161 Vaughan Road. You know, with over 30 years experience in natural wellness, I've seen countless health fads come and go. A few years ago, we added a patented technology that actually activates your stem cells. It reverses the aging process at the cellular level. However, you do need proper hydration and targeted nutrition. At the Herb Shop, our advanced scanning and testing technology allows us to accurately assess your nutritional needs and get a customized plan for you. Come in today and see what the Herb Shop can do for you.
This is your roving reporter. Today I'm talking with a prospector. That's right, man. I'm prospecting for gold. You dig? No, but it looks like you do. And you know the first thing I'm going to do when I strike it rich? What's that? I'm going to hire David Ernest to be my money man. You mean everyone's favorite asset preservationist? That is correct, man. I'm going to call him up at 833-596-7233. 833-596-SAFE. You know, I've heard a lot of good things about David Ernest. You know, he's the best money man around with over 40 years of experience. Experience is necessary, especially when you're digging for gold. That's right, man. And I can see that you don't have very much experience. What do you mean, man? Well, you have the little plastic bucket and shovel like a kid would take to the beach. Yeah, man, well, I want to start out small and kind of pace myself up until I strike it rich. Well, maybe you should call David Ernest first. You think he's got a shovel? Never know till you ask. I dig, man.
For too long, Alabama's statewide news companies have shamed us for our conservative Christian values. Alabama deserves a news company that cherishes our culture, a company that isn't bought and paid for by the powers that be. 1819 News is that company. Run by Alabamians for Alabamians, 1819 News celebrates what is good and beautiful about our state, while exposing those who work against our values in secret. Just go to 1819news.com to learn more. Subscribe to our newsletter. That's 1819news.com. This hour of News and Views is brought to you by our good friends at Cole Plumbing, 279-8919. Cole Plumbing is number one in the number two business. You don't have to dig a hole. They have proprietary pipelining technology. Ask them about their tankless water heaters. Remember, when you have trouble with your bowl, call on Cole.
If it concerns your community, you'll hear about it on News Talk 93.1. News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back. Not getting away from the state politics stuff. There's yet again Bitcoin conference going on, and you know, Bitcoin is not dead, despite those who, it's been announced the 100th time it's dead. I don't think it's dead at all. I think, in fact, there's a game of suppression, price suppression going on, especially as final legislation is being haggled over within the United States Congress. And yeah, there's a game between the new guard and the old guard financial system and the upstarts in the cryptocurrency community, in particular in the Bitcoin community. And of course, that jockeying is going to continue until we really are off to the races. But you know, these people that run the major financial centers of the United States ain't morons. So they're definitely going to get whatever they can out of this. But one guy who's really stuck his neck out there is Eric Trump about Bitcoin. He joined that conference, and let's just listen in to the president's son.
Well, let me hop in here, guys. You know, the compression of Bitcoin is unbelievable. You know, I think I was the first guy on a stage like this wearing a suit, maybe in this industry, and that was about 3 years ago, advocating for this industry. And now every single day you see what they're doing. You see what Charles Schwab is doing. You see what JP Morgan is doing. I mean, you literally had Jamie Dimon 2 years ago that was laughing at Bitcoin, not believing in the asset. Now all of a sudden using JP Morgan Chase, you can go out and you can borrow against your Bitcoin holdings to get home mortgages. You have Charles Schwab that's about to, you've seen all the announcement that they've made, but they're about to custody Bitcoin for the first time. This is the low-cost provider, of all wealth management in the country with 30 million bank accounts, and they're going all in. You see what they've done at BlackRock. You see what they're doing with all the ETFs that you just mentioned, the most successful ETFs in history. in history. Every single one of them that launches has become an incredible success. Now all of a sudden they're adding on top of that, they're adding yield strategies on top of that. Then you look at what Michael Saylor's doing, and he's a dear friend and doing a phenomenal job. You look at what Simon and Metaplanet's doing a phenomenal job. You look at what 21 Capital is doing. Guys, they are buying and they are not selling. You look at what I'm doing at American Bitcoin mining. We are mining and we are not selling. We believe in the asset. You look at all the companies, how they're growing their Bitcoin treasuries. You look at private companies like the Trump Organization, how we're treasuring Bitcoin because we believe in it as an asset class. We are compressing Bitcoin. There is a limited supply, and that limited supply, as much as we like to throw around 21 million, it's not 21 million. People have lost it, but beyond that, people are not selling it, people are holding it. Bitcoin is becoming sticky. And it's no longer, the DeFi crowd who are incredible, the young kids who really believed in digital assets and were buying Bitcoin when it was $10 and $50 and $100. Now you have the biggest institutional accounts. You have governments. You have the United States government that holds 300,000 Bitcoin and will not sell it. You have the Middle East that is using energy from cities that they don't need to cool in the middle of winter, but they do obviously have to cool in the middle of summer because it's hot as hell. Guess what they're using all that extra capacity for? To mine Bitcoin. Guys, it is compressing, and it is compressing hard. And honestly, I was saying this backstage, we were talking a little bit. I'm more confident in Bitcoin today, at the number that it's at today, than I was in Bitcoin when it was 125,000, because honestly, what Bitcoin's done in the last 6 months relative to what Bitcoin's done in the previous 3 years is transformational. I mean, this rush is only getting going, and we are in the greatest period, I think, in the history of crypto. And just hold on, guys, hold on. It's coming.
Yeah, Bitcoin is still down over the year 21% off that all-time high of 125 grand, give or take. But in the last month, it's up 14.5%. And if you follow the history of this at all, it's a lot of volatility. And I think the future is coming. It's not just Bitcoin. And a person reached out, asked me my thoughts of this. I said, I keep it simple and dumb for me. I always treat it like a savings account, like put in the same amount of money every month. And, don't take my advice. Go look at other people, talk to your financial advisor if you got one. But I think it is something that is going to be the backbone of a new global financial system. We really are heading in that direction, especially if you end up getting some sort of peace agreement, not just with Iran and the larger Middle East, but also with Russia and Ukraine. Now, that's a big if. But if you do, what tends to happen is when wars end and you have kind of the wreckage of this financial system, especially all the sanctions that have been put on and just the competition, you often see a change in how the global financial system works. And given this technology, in particular Bitcoin, has been predicted to die, been declared to die many times, and yet it's still on chugging. And now you have, as you just heard Eric Trump say, the big corporate players and government players essentially positioning themselves. Yeah. We're going back to the moon to build a moon base. But as they said back in the early DeFi days, to the moon. To the moon. 272-9228 if you want to get in on the conversation. That's 334-272-9228. And it's only fitting if we're going to talk about the moon. Jared Isaacman laid out, was on Fox News the other day, and essentially said, the next step is to go further. It's not just about footprints or flags. It's not just a status symbol, a power of, what exactly we can do out there. What we're looking to do is create a permanent opportunity for the United States of America. So whether it's brand new digital currency in the global economy or the AI boom or going to the moon, well, things are changing.
It is absolutely our destiny to go out and venture and explore across the last great frontier. And for the last 25 years, we've been doing some extraordinary things. We have kept human beings alive above us in low Earth orbit for 25 years. You're 25 years or younger in this world. You've never lived at a time where you didn't have an American astronaut orbiting above you. But I'll tell you, the next step is to go out further. It's to return to the moon. It's to pick up where Apollo 17 left off, not just for the flags and footprints. President Trump said we are going back to stay to build a moon base. That is going to be a massive American outpost. I mean, for scientific purposes, all that we stand to learn there, economic potential, we could be building, the moon base could unlock a lunar economy, but it's going to be the technological proving ground on the South Pole, the water ice, to master the skills to where we go next, which is Mars. It is absolutely.
By the way, I got a kick out of President Trump couldn't help himself, saying, Jared, did you hear that question? They're all standing in the Oval Office with the Artemis 2 crew. Isaacman, the head of NASA, is there. You know, the press pool, the gaggles gathered around the desk. And some lady shouts some question that really the NASA administrator should answer, Jared Isaacman should answer. And Trump looks over and goes, did you hear that, Jared? You know, that's his guy's superpower. He can hear really well. And it's just a knock on this. He has massive ears. Isaacman took it like a champ and just started laughing and posted about it on social media. But Trump cannot help himself. It's like, hey, Dumbo, did you hear that one? Big ears. What a stupid time sometimes. And then a revolutionary time in many other ways. 272-9228. This part of the program brought to you by, again, Josh and Leslie Ryder there at Dillon Rings. And at Dillon Rings, they do have a great inventory selection to choose from high-end pieces, watches. Don't forget watches for gentlemen and ladies. And, of course, everyday jewelry. Maybe you want to do a starter like charm bracelet with the niece or the daughter in your life, your granddaughter. That can always be a fun thing. And, of course, they could also repair something that you're noticing a gemstone is loose or just something looks messed up a little bit. And perhaps you have something you wear all the time and it looks like you've been wearing that piece of jewelry all the time for years. What if it could shine and shimmer like it's brand new again? Well, they can do a spa treatment there. And, of course, don't forget about the custom design work. Josh the jeweler, second to none. The guy is an artist and a bit of a scientist, a bit of a chemist, too, and getting these pieces done. So if you want to check out Dillon Rings, you can always go to Dillon Rings on the Facebook, on Book of Faces. Or you can just stop by. 119 Brown Springs Road here in Montgomery, just off of Atlanta Highway. And be sure to tell Josh and Leslie Ryder that Joey, that fellow on the radio, sent you.
He may not know whether he's coming or going, but whether you're going to work or coming home, Greg Budell is there. Mornings, 6 till 9, and afternoons, 3 till 6. Only on News Talk 93.1 FM, WACV.
It's time to show Mom how much you appreciate her with a Jenny Lynn's floral creation for Mother's Day. Skip the grocery store flowers and make one quick call, 285-1000. Roses, lilies, beautiful bouquets, and gift baskets designed just for Mom. Call Jenny Lynn's Creations, 285-1000.
A new year brings new opportunities, and right now the market is starting to shift.
Interest rates are beginning to come down, which means more buying power and more options for buyers who've been waiting.
If you're thinking about buying a home, this could be the moment to take that next step.
And whether you're buying, selling, or investing, having experience on your side matters more than ever.
At Hannah and Eddie Realty Group, we're also growing our team.
If you're an experienced agent ready to make a difference in this market and want to be part of a team that values knowledge, support, and results, call Hannah and Eddie Realty Group, where opportunity meets experience.
Hi, folks. This is Rick Clark with Clark Heating, Air Conditioning, and Plumbing. I'd like to take just a minute to talk to you about our experience with Blue Water Broadcasting. One of the hot topics in our staff meetings is spending advertising dollars. If your company or firm is anything like Clark Heating, Air Conditioning, and Plumbing, those dollars are limited, so you have to spend them wisely. That's why we choose Blue Water Broadcasting. Our marketing analysis has proven consistently that spending advertising dollars with Blue Water Broadcasting has contributed significantly to our bottom line. And for that, Clark Heating, Air Conditioning, and Plumbing is truly grateful. So, if you want to spend your advertising dollars wisely, choose Blue Water Broadcasting and see the difference.
Radio works. It's as simple as that. Call us to find out how radio can work for your business. Blue Water Broadcasting. Local folks helping local business.
This hour of News and Views is brought to you by our good friends at Cole Plumbing, 279-8919. Cole Plumbing is number one in the number two business. You don't have to dig a hole. They have proprietary pipelining technology. Ask them about their tankless water heaters. Remember, when you have trouble with your bowl, call on Cole.
Rich Thomas Weather is brought to you by Clark Heating, Air, and Plumbing. It's time to schedule your spring tune-up with Clark Heating, Air, and Plumbing. Don't wait. Schedule today. Give them a call at 334-277-2125. Alabama certification number 88007.
Rich Thomas Weather.
We've got another storm system on the horizon with more beneficial rain. For tonight, maybe a few spotty showers. Overnight low temperature down to about 56. And scattered showers will be around during the daytime hours tomorrow, Friday, with a high temperature only up to about 67. Then look for periods of rain and thunderstorms Friday night into Saturday. Locally heavy rainfall amounts possible with some cool air coming in. High temperature only up to about 66 on Saturday. We'll be in the mid-40s Saturday night and Sunday night. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
CB&S Bank, serving families and communities since 1906. Proud to be named 16th best performing bank nationally in their asset category by American Banker. Learn more at cbsbank.com. CB&S Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
News and talk without the static. The River Region's most trusted voice. News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
This is a Trump country. We live in the Southeast. We drink sweet tea. We don't drink socialist Kool-Aid. Yeah.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back. A few things to get to here. First off, prove me wrong, Kay Ivey. Suspect the worst. Maybe it's my fault. But prove me wrong, Kay Ivey. Let's actually get the redistricting done. Now, delay the primaries. Like, you can call the legislature for a special without waiting on the courts. Now that's it. Elon Musk was in court today. And there's this back and forth, like, suing OpenAI about them being a nonprofit, but then them making a lot of profit. And at one point, Musk has this exchange with OpenAI's lawyer, and it's sort of a summary of the cross-examination. William Savitt, the lead defense lawyer, Supreme Court clerk, trained to break witnesses. Like, this is a top lawyer. Best money can buy. Savitt opens with a misleading premise. Musk says, you're being misleading. What you're saying is false. Savitt tries again with a different loaded frame. Your questions are not simple. They are designed to trick me. Savitt demands a yes or no answer to a complicated question. Musk says, quote, if you ask a question where there is no possible simple answer, I must give a long answer because any simple answer would be misleading the jury. Musk reaches for an analogy. The classic answer to a yes or no question is not so simple. For example, if you ask the question, will you stop beating your wife? Judge Gonzalez Rogers cuts him off saying, no, we're not going to go there. The courtroom laughs. Savitt apologizes for the question. Musk says, I find it funny you saying it wasn't an unfair question since you're only asking unfair questions. Savitt, I'm doing my best. Musk says, that is not true. It's like arguing with a robot. And also it is interesting to see this guy really is a polymath. Like, brilliant in many ways. One of the more nerve-wracking things for very smart people, even. Like, if you're an expert witness at a trial, the job often of the defense or the team against you, the lawyer up against you in cross-examination, is to undermine your credibility and your expertise. And it can be really tricky. And, Elon only has so much time, but to see him, strike at the premise of this lawyer trying to break him, pretty funny. And the courtroom sketch is hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. Yeah, that is the classic. Will you stop beating your wife? It's like, it's a classic question. It presumes that you are beating your wife. So whether you say yes or no, you're screwed. It is the classic trap. It's a false premise. And lawyers are very good at framing things in false premises. Now, shifting gears away from that. Let's go. This is J.D. Vance yesterday on with Will Cain on the Fox News. And J.D. was asked to summarize his way back to faith. And he's got a new book coming out. You can see it right there in the graphic, called Communion. Pretty on the nose for a Catholic, but I like it. Looking forward to reading this book when it comes out. So let's listen into the vice president summarize, well, how did he find his way back to faith?
I think one of the things that happened for me is that while my mamaw, the woman who raised me, my grandmother, she was a person of very deep faith, we didn't have a very consistent practice of the faith. We didn't go to church regularly. We didn't have a faith community that sustained us. And so, you know, as I went from high school to the Marine Corps and then to college, you know, I just didn't have a firm enough root when all these forces from the outside encouraged me to discard my faith, encouraged me to think of people who did have faith as wrong-headed or simple in some way. And so that faith just kind of shriveled up and died a little bit. But, you know, some of those seeds that were planted, I think, by my grandfather, by my dad, they did eventually take root. And fundamentally, Will, I think the way to summarize my own journey is that as I became a husband and father, I began to think about the deep questions, you know, not what kind of credentials you have or what kind of job you have or how much money you make. I started to think to myself, how do I raise, you know, a happy family? How do I be a good husband to this woman that I've fallen in love with? How do I be a good father to these children that we plan to have? And the more that I thought about those deeper questions, the more that I thought the best answers were in that Christian faith that I had discarded. And that's what ultimately led me back on the pathway to faith. I think all of us have our own journey, but that's a good way to summarize mine. And if you want to read the longer version, of course, you can check out the book.
I'll definitely be checking out the book, probably soon. Now, that said, it sometimes doesn't take an entire lifetime in becoming a father and taking on responsibilities of life. Sometimes you just know early on. And this clip was making the rounds. Matt Walsh and Michael Knowles of the Daily Wire did one of these, you know, Q&A sessions, presentation sessions for Turning Point USA. And I have to say, this is one of the more wholesome things I've seen. Because often it gets a little, you know, contentious, as politics is. Especially over the governor. And yeah. Everybody wants to hang their hat on technicalities. Just with the governor, I'm like, can't we have a little more forceful leadership? You can at least use words that give people hope instead of just going, I'm not in the position to do this. Okay. Thanks for that. Thanks for fighting. Okay. Anyway, because politics can usually be contentious, especially at a TPUSA event, this was a breath of fresh air. And, you know, it took the vice president a while. It took me a while to start to get back into my faith. But sometimes you just know. And you could throw it off as like, you know, in the Catholic community, cradle Catholics, or, you know, you were always an evangelical, or you were always a Baptist, or whatever, pick your denomination. But sometimes those people that knew that from a young age, they're the best. They're the best among us. They didn't have to go on some prodigal journey and find their way back home to their father's house. They just knew that, well, this is my father's house is the place I should be. Why did y'all get so lost? Here's what I mean. Let's listen in. This is a Q&A. It is an adorable kid, probably about 9, 10, 11. I don't know. A young man. And let's listen into his question.
Hi, my name's Bryce. I came here from Billings, a 10-hour drive.
10-hour drive.
I want to be a priest when I grow up. I just wanted to ask, what would your advice be?
Don't be a Jesuit. I don't mean to just. No, there were good Jesuits sometimes. That's great news. How old are you?
10.
This is like the biggest white pill.
Why? I think it's a wonderful thing. Why have you decided you want to be a priest?
Kind of just because God's calling me.
Awesome. Love it.
That's
Love
amazing.
it, man.
That's beautiful.
You know, this is great. This is so wonderful. I don't need to give you advice. I think you at 10 years old probably need to give me advice. This is really great. There are many moments when you work in politics, you feel jaded. You say all hope is lost.
Mm-hmm.
The culture is dying. No one has the right ideas anymore. And then you meet a 10-year-old kid who says, I want to serve God and be a priest. And you say, guys, We're going to make it. You know, we're just going to make it. Hal.
Kids smiling ear to ear.
And I mean, in the form of advice, the only thing I would say is to continue doing exactly what you're doing right now, which is that you're answering the right question, which is, what does God want for my life? Now, most people, kids and adults, most adults, if you were to ask them how, you ask them what they do for a living or how they decided to live, what their lifestyle is, and they'll tell you, and you ask why, and they'll say something along the lines of, well, it's what I want to do. It's what I felt would be the best for me, or something like that. But the real answer, what we should all be doing, what we should all be trying to discern, is not what we want to do, but it's why has God put us here? I mean, God created all of us, which is an amazing fact, that we were all created. We are all intentional creations of the Lord of the entire universe, the God that made by hand tens of billions of entire galaxies, also created all of us. And he did that for each of us for a specific reason, to come into this world and do something. And that thing is going to be different for everybody. And so our job first is to prayerfully discern what that thing is, to ask God. It's like, I know what I want to do, but God, what do you want me to do? And you're already asking that question. You're getting an answer. Continue asking it and continue being open to God's answer.
You know, we have been here for almost 2 hours. And you even, tell me your name again.
Bryce.
Bryce. We have been here for almost 2 hours. And Bryce comes up with this beautiful statement in question, and then Matt, in typical curmudgeonly fashion, starts grilling him on it and says, well, why? Why do you want to do it? And at the end
a priest?
At the end of 2 hours, he is a priest. At the end of 2 hours, we get the most concise, wisest answer of the entire night. I want to do this thing because God is calling me to do it. Out of the mouth of babes, this is exactly what TPUSA is about. This is exactly what Charlie was doing, was inspiring an entire generation. One of the most beautiful answers I've ever heard at any event. Thank you so much, Bryce.
Thought it was a cool moment. And yeah, I think, at least in my case, way too many years on Earth, did not explicitly ask the question, what does God want me to do? I think, God's always there, even when you have your eyes shut to him. And there are certain gifts of discernment. And because of the roots laid down when I was young, about that kid's age, I wanted to be a priest when I was in 3rd grade. Got the journals and bad handwriting to prove it. But it's always there. But when you finally start asking that question in prayer and trying to discern it clearly, well, I don't know if God wants me to bitch about the governor all day, but, it's a day-by-day thing. Anyway, we'll be right back after this.
Want to carry News Talk in your pocket? Download the News Talk 93.1 app from the App Store. Available on iPhone and Android. Never miss a moment. Download now.
Hey, this is Ashley, owner of Pest Pro Services, and I want to help you take back your yard this spring. We protect your outdoor space from mosquitoes, fleas, and ticks so you can enjoy being outside. We treat where mosquitoes live and breed with pro-level care, which means fewer bites, more time outside, and a backyard ready for fun. Give us a call at 265-9990 or visit us at ppsriverregion.com. That's 265-9990 and follow us on Facebook at Pest Pro Services. And remember, when you want to know, call a pro. Pest Pro.
This hour of News and Views is brought to you by our good friends at Cole Plumbing, 279-8919. Cole Plumbing is #1 in the #2 business. You don't have to dig a hole. They have proprietary pipelining technology. Ask them about their tankless water heaters. Remember, when you have trouble with your bowl, call on Cole.
The River Region's first and only News Talk station on FM. Live, local talk. News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back. Now, I couldn't get Ray Bowles on the line, so I want to remind y'all before we have to close out the show about Prattville Carpet. And of course, our Prattville Carpet, whether you're looking for brand new carpet or laying down some new ceramic tile or traditional hardwood epoxy floors, look great in the garage, gentlemen. They can help you. Just call them up at 285-8117. They'll come and do a free in-home measurement. Then you pick out the product you want to lay down, and they'll get the job done just that simple. And they can get it done quick. And, well, great pricing. Great folks, easy to work with. Y'all check out Prattville Carpet today. Again, that's 285-8117. That's 285-8117. And be sure to tell them you heard Joey, that fellow on the radio, sent you. Let's go to Duke, I believe it is. Hey, Duke, how you doing?
I had a question for you, Joey. What you think about me being a priest?
You being a priest?
Yeah.
Well, you're you're married.
I'm not talking about back in. I'm talking about back in my day. Being a priest. Would it work out for me? Listen to the, old Susan bitching about her and cheating with the nun every other weekend, something like that. I had to hear that every. I don't know if I can sit there and listen to all this nonsense.
No, there is a lot that priests definitely hear in confessionals. No, don't get me wrong, man. There's a lot of downside, but then there's also but there's also the uplifting stuff, like truly, where you get.
I know that, but just imagine me listen to some of this stuff, though.
Oh, sure, man.
Everybody, and the nun, she in there talking to him too. Said, "I don't know if I can hold out too much longer. I don't know if I can do it." I'm talking about all this kind of stuff, Joey.
Oh yeah, no, there you get the all the little things of life. You get the amazing moments like weddings and kids, getting first communion, baptism, but then you get funerals as well and having to visit the sick, and then you get the annoying the person that goes to confession every day and confesses the same thing.
But you got this nun. She said she don't know if she can hold like a Brother Billy keep on winking his eye at her. What at first she thought he had something in the eye, but he was really winking at her and told her he liked her a lot. So she don't know if she continue as she is. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, it's happened before. It's happened before where people make I think it's a bad decision after you.
I'm liable to go ahead and tell her, go on, give him a taste of it. Don't get him out your face or whatever it takes. Yeah. That's what I may do.
I just think you were always meant to be the family man.
All right, man. Let me get off here.
We'll appreciate it, dude.
Oh, Lord, have mercy.
Later, dude. No, you need more holy folks across the board, whether clergy members or just more folks in general. And when folks present themselves to you, you need to be able to look out for them too. It could be as simple as a prayer, could be as simple as a word of encouragement, could be it's the right time where you walk with them on their journey. But you got to keep in mind that whether it's a priest or your pastor, your minister, your reverend, your rabbi, or whatever, it ain't the people who save. God's the one in charge. God saves. It's only by his grace that we get to where we need to go. And I guess we have the choice whether or not to forsake that. That's at least my perspective on it. Anyway, got to close up shop. Happy Hour with Greg Budell. He's next.
From the Riverside Chevrolet Master Control Center, this is WACV Cusana, News Talk 93.1 FM. When it's Chevy,